Okay, we are live at Mythvision Podcast. It is Derek Lambert, your host. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a while since I've streamed, and I have obviously, if you don't know, Neil Sinlack from Gnostic Informant joining me here on my left.
Sharing this in my community tab. That's why I have the phone, not being rude. Just want to share this out.
Yeah, welcome everybody. It's really good to see you here. We have several things we want to talk about. That's why I was like, what do I title this? There's so many cool things we're working on right now, and we're interested in diving into. It's kind of funny how these studies work. Sometimes you get lost in rabbit holes, and you want to pick away at the threads and discover where they lead. And we're going to get into that. Before we do, we want to talk about some real life stuff and what's been going on. I'll let you share what's recently taken place with you.
Yeah, recently my brother. Some of you. I talked about this. Actually, this is going on almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
When my brother, he overdosed, went to the hospital, and was pronounced brain dead. You took over my stream for that whole week when I was dealing with that.
Yeah.
Well, he's been in hospice ever since, and a few days ago he was let go. Now he's passed away. So he was suffering the whole time. So I mean, if anything, it's good that he's no longer in that state. So.
He was suffering, and he really was in pain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so the best.
It's hard to see him. Very hard to see him.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those who don't know, Neil's brother, identical twin or
Fraternal twins.
Fraternal twins. So his twin brother passed away.
He was born 5 minutes before me.
So he was the Esau, and you were the Jacob. Yeah. You grabbed his ankle and you pulled him back in. Yeah. But they reminded me of me and my brother, and we are joined at the hip. Like, even though I'm a year and 3 months older than my brother, like we didn't go anywhere without each other. There wasn't something we weren't doing to have each other's backs. It's just the way life was. His brother passed away, and then he came to visit me actually, and it happened while he was here. And we've been hanging out, we've been talking, doing a lot of other stuff, not just recordings. And my brother's struggling big time in addiction. And so I guess I want to open it up with serious stuff before we get into like history and ancient wisdom and all that cool stuff that we could discover about.
Yeah, because we got something planned that's deep going.
There's some stuff.
The serious stuff will be done if you're not into this. Like, come back. We got fun stuff coming. But anyway.
Yeah. I had a dream a long time ago about my brother dying. And when this happened just recently, it made me go over to his house and like try to do anything I could to help him with his situation and addiction. And he's willing. So I'm actually going to be getting him into treatment here soon. And his wife, both are struggling. This is a disease. I mean, it's medical, so it's not moral. You're a bad person. The church told me forever. It's a sin. It's a demon. Your spirituality, demon, it was much more than that. And Kurt's willing, and he's going to do something to get help. So that's the first thing we wanted to say is, again, you're kind of past the whole wanting to go on and on about the loss of your brother.
Yeah,
but it's a serious thing. So, for those who've been watching for a long time, like there's been stuff going on behind the scenes. Neil's been fighting through. He's had to see his brother in the state and hospice at the hospital for years now. And finally, he has, finally gone to not having to suffer anymore. So. Right.
Yep. So, I mean, it's I'm sure there's a lot of people who can relate out there. It's a big deal. It's an epidemic. Fentanyl was the drug that ultimately put him out, and it's not getting better out there. So
no,
I'm sure. I mean, what is it? 150 people watching this. I'm sure most of the people out of that 150 at least know somebody who's dealing with that type of stuff. That's how like big it is,
Yeah, and I just want people to know, most importantly, you're not alone. Find someone, get into a group somewhere, connect with people, because it's all about connection. And don't give up. As long as you've got breath, don't give up.
Yeah,
I've been down that road. In fact, that's people who don't know. This is the perfect time to lead into something else. You might go, "Why is Derek and Neil so tight?" Why are they so close? Why are they like brothers? Me and Neil have a similar past.
A lot in common. It's weird.
Really weird.
In common. And he's 2 years older than me. He has 2 years longer of clean time. We were both addicts ourselves. Almost exactly 2 more years of clean time more than me. And he started his YouTube channel 2 years before my channel.
Right.
So it's like I'm following Derek. I'm like 2 years behind Derek.
But you're not in terms of you're growing, bro. You're busting.
Yeah, but
in
still,
fact, your recent discovery of the documentary stuff. See, for a long time, Neil used to pat me on the back, go, bro, if it weren't for you, man. And, it feels good to do that. But it also makes me go like, if you didn't work the way you worked, your work ethic is impeccable, bro. You have an impeccable work ethic.
You should have just seen us before the stream, getting our notes ready for this.
Oh, gosh.
Highlighting stuff. I got pages of notes ready to go.
Got some stuff to show you.
For today. Oh, that's the wrong side. But yeah, like we got some stuff for today.
Yeah, we're hoping you'll rabbit trail with us.
Yeah, we're going deep into some stuff.
But the most important stuff we wanted to get up front, and that is Neil. He's got a record. I've got a record. We both dealt with addiction. We both had family members that were addicted, and we both are weirdos that are into this stuff. So, we nerd out on learning this ancient history. It had a deep grip on both of us as fundamentalist Christians. We were both fundamentalists. We both came from a very conservative Christian background.
That's another thing. Forgot to mention. That's another bonding thing. Is we both were hard fundamentalist Christians who went to church 3 times a week. If there was 5 times a week we could go, we would go. Yeah. I was there every time it was open. I was the first one there. They gave me my own personal key. I was like one of the most involved people there. Derek was like that too at his church. We both had that part of us, and then switch over to the skeptic side, and become the informant, if you will. That's why my name Nas, the informant. I became an informant on my religion. Yeah, I was telling on them, like, hey, you guys are holding stuff. Yeah, I'm telling on you for this.
Well, I love that
That's what informant meant. People didn't know what it meant, but that's what it meant.
Well, I like that you're bringing the gnosis, right? You want to educate. You're bringing knowledge.
Knowledge informant,
But it is cool that there is that particular term that is coined that we use for these groups of Christians. They are Christians. I don't care what Christians say. Christians say they're not Christians because they have particular theological definitions. They claim to be Christ followers. They claim to be followers of Jesus Christ. So I love that you really hammer that too, because it's like, well, who's right? And like, you're going to trust the Orthodox Church to have given you the correct thing all the way from start to finish? That's what his side really dwells into. And you don't do it as pokey as I do. You do it to where like people will learn as they watch your episodes.
I want to give you the sources and let you decide.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
I feel like you're forced to decide though.
I'm bringing you this is what the text says. I'm not going to tell you what to think of it. That's for you to decide. So Derek, what your approach is to like, you're trying to dissect things. Yeah. You're trying to get the scholars that like explain away what's going.
But also have the scholars kind of do this, and you can hear like
we have different ways of doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for showing up in the chat. I want to share my screen real quick, and this is going to segue in over to this. So we dealt with the addiction. We talked about the loss of your brother. I'm trying to save mine and his wife, and so we're busy people. I got the whole family. You could probably attest and tell how crazy my life is. Yeah. And yet I still try to generate this stuff and produce courses and all that. So I do appreciate everyone who's liked videos. That everything you do, free or not free, helps to keep bringing this information. Just the other day, I got to share the screen real quick, please, before we go into the rabbit trail. I just want to show something real quick for our audience because I think this is important. Subscribe to Neil over here, Gnostic Informant. I'll put this in the chat. If there's a mod, it'd be awesome to have you put this in the chat, but I'll put it here anyway.
Thank you. Anyone would,
Yeah, and if someone wants to keep refreshing that and like sharing it, go ahead. We're going to get into something here as an analogy. This right here, right? Like Argonauts of the desert.
Ooh.
This is something that is blowing me away. I've got a documentary I'm about to do on Abraham. We're going to get into this. We've got some notes here. We're going to get into Elephantine papyri, but
we have to go over this.
I did a poll.
Do you want to explain why we did this poll?
Yeah, so we need to
Okay.
lead up into why this poll was on my community tab yesterday and why 91% of people would have chosen Demetrius Valerius.
Yeah, we expected this poll to be at this. This is what we expected.
I did misspell Socrates, so people made
Yeah, sorry about that.
I didn't. I even tried to correct it, but some people had to keep going.
Yeah, who cares? All
Yeah.
right. Well, the point of this poll is because everyone knows Plato. Everyone knows Socrates because of Plato, because Plato wrote about Socrates. And everyone knows Aristotle because Aristotle's works are like just, there's so much Aristotle that's been preserved. Aristotle, his peripatetic school was so influential in Greek thought. Everyone knows those names. But when Demetrius Valerius, not everyone knows who this person is. But yet, when you look into this person's history, you find out he's involved in so much game-changing events that happened in history.
Why is he not?
And why is he not a household name like the other three? I have no idea.
Yeah, you said it yesterday off air, and we don't know how absolutely factual in terms of there's no number like scientific I can absolutely say, but he should be. This should not be.
You're going to find out today why we're saying this.
Yeah, like the point Neil's trying to say, without getting overly critically numbers here on science, but like this is an unbalanced, fair vote. Like you should be voting like, I think Socrates over Plato, or I think Aristotle over Plato, or I think Plato over it shouldn't be like everyone doesn't know this guy, but everyone knows Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. That's his point.
My point is, yeah, the things that he contributed to the world,
right,
is arguably more than the other three.
Right.
And yeah, that might sound crazy, but once you listen to what I have planned, what me and Derek have planned, I think you might at least understand why I'm saying this.
I think,
and it has to do with your Bible. It has to do with your Bible.
You kind of have to ask, like, what's one of the most popular books in the world right now?
Yeah,
right? It's your Bible.
I mean, think about it. What's more influential, Plato's Timaeus or the Bible?
And there's scholars we talked to, Gamirkin, others. This book that I brought up, Argonauts of the Desert, which, God, I can't wait to get into this with you guys. I love challenging what we thought we've known for centuries in scholarship.
Yeah.
From scholars. These are not fundamentalists. They have no axe grinding to try and make these things magically abracadabra. These are critical scholars who are insisting on trying to kind of challenge the status quo, and that's always fun to me.
Yeah.
So
now, can you pull up the screenshots from Diogenes? This one.
Yes. So
now I want to go down. First of all, notice how he's a student of Theophrastus, who is the successor to Aristotle.
So this is Theo. Yep.
Just hold that thought for now. There's a straight line. By the way,
let me go full screen so you can actually break this, like get this linear thing going.
Well, I want to do the line thing. There's a straight line from the 7 sages of Greece to the Septuagint.
But you don't need this
right.
I
don't want to do it, but I want to show.
I
want to show what he says about Demetrius at the end. The last thing he says about him. Keep the next page. Is there another page?
Yeah. So this is that. By the way, that's a gold statue of Zeus Serapis.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he worshipped him. He would. He was living in. He was actually influential. He was part of the building of the Serapeum in Alexandria.
Right.
So that's another thing he contributed to society. The Serapeum, and he was one of the people commissioned to build the Library of Alexandria. And you don't.
It's kind of a big deal.
And no one knows him. Like what? So here it is, right here. In the quantity of books
of his books, yep.
In the quantity, I'm reading it right here. In the quantity of his books and the total number of lines written, he surpassed nearly all his contemporary peripatetics. That means school of Aristotle. For his learning and experience are unequaled. Some of his works are historical, some political, some deal with poetry, some rhetoric. There are also speeches given in the assembly and the embassies, as well as collections of Aesop's fables and works. His books include, and I'm not going to read them all, just scroll through to show him how much he's written. Look at this. All of that.
His style is philosophical, combining rhetorical vigor and force. When he heard that the Athenians had destroyed his statues, he said, but not the virtue that caused them to be erected. He used to say that though the eyebrows only a small part of the face, they have the power to darken the whole of life, or the whole life. He said that not only was wealth blind, but also luck its guide. I want to make one comment while you're getting into this, just to point out. And I also want to highlight the super chats here real quick.
Yeah. But I just real quick, I just wanted you to see, this is what Diogenes Laertius is saying, how big of a deal he was.
Right. Huge.
And he says unsurpassed by any peripatetic.
Big deal.
That means the three people that we named in front of him did not pass him, according to Diogenes.
So you've got fans of this guy who are clearly saying that. One comment I got to make. I see this all the time happen, and I can't wait to know more.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when I get to know more, I'll have a better, accurate, like I can go to the original sources and pull this stuff out. But what you find as an apologetic among online apologist communities, mostly Christian, that I'm engaging with, they have this like morality, ethics, societal argument that like we are dependent on Christianity. Now, here's the deal. This is where it's really interesting. I do think that we've evolved out of Christianity, our society. You could call me an atheist Christian if you want, whatever you want to call it. The point is Christianity, they act like figured it all out. And it's like the moral ethical compass is Christianity, and this is the truth, ignoring the slavery stuff that Jesus clearly said he was involved in and uses in his parables. Just check out Jennifer Glancy and you'll see that Jesus did not condemn slavery. And yes, this is not just, I'm indentured servitude. This is the Roman version of slavery that was ubiquitous in the world, which is not a pretty thing. But my point is they act like this is the morality and Christianity had it, as if these Christians did not get this from the pagan world, because pagan equals polytheistic equals bad, idol worshiping, heathen, and not realizing these philosophers that came before Christianity.
Show them Heraclitus.
All right.
Because this will highlight what you just said perfectly.
Now, is this here?
No, it's one of the scrolls that I sent you.
Going down.
No, it's not in the book. It's one of the pages that I sent you.
Right. I screenshot it over here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me pull
this is from the Fragments of Heraclitus, 6th century
down
BCE.
Here or up?
Oh, right here.
Okay.
Oh, right.
Got it.
Okay. He says, initiation here into the ancient mysteries, so honored among men, mocks holiness.
They're very holy minded.
He's dissing his Greek pagan counterpart. Look at the next thing he says. They raise their voices at stone idols, as a man might argue with his doorpost. They have understood so little of the gods.
Yeah.
That sounds like Jeremiah or Isaiah. That's Heraclitus.
And they're calling them out.
The point Derek was saying is these ideas of these monotheistic ideas didn't just come from one place.
Right.
This was already.
It was already in the Greek world.
It was a part of the Greek world.
And so when I hear the apologists say, you owe to Christians, man, we Christians really, it took you 1700, 1800 years to finally condemn slavery as a practice. But they keep pretending they don't owe any of their ethics, their morality, their code, and everything they learned philosophically. Paul talks about the pneuma. The pneuma in Paul, if you go watch the course by Robin Faith Walsh, she breaks this down as a philosophy within Stoicism. And it was a Middle Platonist kind of between Stoic and Middle Platonist idea that Paul is working within. You can thank the Stoics. You can thank the Middle Platonists. You can't act like your Christianity was just this thing that came in the divine hand, boom, and you're ignoring what came before. So when they make the argument, you owe everything to Christian foundation, you get the presuppositionalist and others who try to act like Christianity is the one. No, your Christians owe these guys.
All right, last thing before the super chats.
Yeah.
Pull up that screenshot of the noose that I showed.
The noose.
It was a screenshot of the noose. This right here.
Okay.
Now this is a Greek in Greek theology. There's the logos. The noose bestowed order on the universe and everything in it. It was a mind in the very sense of a vessel or diffuser in the works of scholar, blah, blah, blah. All right, this is a Christian concept, right? Everyone agrees on that. However, the Christians did not invent this concept. In fact, Anaxagoras in the 5th century BCE, or 6th century, I don't know the date here, Anaxagoras said this exact same thing, that the mind, the nous, is the one who orders the universe. So this is the Christians didn't make this up. They adopted these ideas from the pre-Socratics.
Right. So when you hear you are standing on our religion in order to make your arguments, everything Christian stands on is standing on what came before it.
I got a quote. This is from Anaxagoras. All things were together. Then the mind, nous in Greek, came and set them in order. Sounds like something a Christian theologian would say.
Sounds like the Logos.
Yeah.
Which is
this is the tip of the iceberg. We got a lot more to go. Let's do some supers though.
Yeah. Real quick on the supers, but this is so much fun to dive into because I enjoy just knowing the facts about the history. It's like I want to be honest.
Just wait until we get to Hecataeus of Abdera, Demetrius, the people in Alexandria, and the Elephantine Jews.
Yeah,
we got a whole,
and it makes you have more questions.
You're gonna see there's some stuff happening.
As we said before we went live, there are more. I think we're asking really good questions that make you have more questions than maybe answers.
That's what me and Derek were saying. Me and Derek don't have the answers. We're not like specialized PhDs, but I was like, Derek, I think you and I have the best questions.
Well, we have really good questions.
I'm not to be cocky, but like
I can't say I
we have the right
question.
I don't have the answers. I don't know what the answer is, but I think I'm asking the right questions.
Well, you and me are talking to so many voices of so many different scholars that it makes us sift through, sit back, and we try to assess and then say, okay, here are our questions based on this, and this leads me down a certain path. And so anyway, let's get the super chat. Stop scamming, man, in the house. Thank you. Good to see you here, by the way. Hi, Derek. Your live streams on Scientology seem great. But are you vetting the guests to make sure they are not working for Emperor Xenu? And again, thank you for the support. Wow. Stop Scamming Man. Really appreciate
it's
that.
It's always good to see Stop Scamming Man. That's
Absolutely.
A long time viewer, you and me.
Been loving from day one. Seriously. These questions.
See Titan Uranus in the chat.
We got a bunch of people.
Kip Davis in the chat.
Captain Dadpool in the hizzy.
All the
Dr. Davis, Titan Uranus. That rhymed. Baron. We got a lot of people here. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Some of the things we're going to talk about coming after this is controversial, and we're going to use some analogies to kind of get to our points.
And none of what I'm saying I'm dogmatic about. I am not saying I'm right. I'm just pointing things out that the sources are saying, and I'm trying to piece it together the best I can. But I can only do I can only do so much from who I am. Yeah,
it's the same thing. You and me are trying. And real quick, we got 1.7K votes, so 91% out of 1.7. Right. Yeah. So Demetrius is a big.
Demetrius is the least known, and I think it's an interesting thing that this person. And we haven't even got into what he's contributed yet. So
let's do this linear thing, because you brought up this, and this is important. You, before we went live, were saying, okay, you've got Thales.
Yeah.
Thales is like the OG.
Thales is the first master of the school of Athens. He's part of the 7 sages of Greece. All right. He's accredited for saying that water is the principle of all things. And God is that mind, there's that nous again, which shaped all things from water. What does that remind you of, Derek?
I mean, it sounds a little bit like Genesis 1.
Waters. The two waters are separated from God. I mean, if you want to pull it up real quick,
well, we know. I mean, in the beginning, God created. But the interesting thing about Genesis, and I think most of our viewers are pretty up to speed.
I'm not saying that Thales wrote Genesis 1, but I'm saying like the idea of like what's in Genesis 1 is also an idea that Thales seems to be having commonplace.
Yeah. Where's this
idea? I'm not
idea?
saying one borrowed from the other.
Right.
I'm just saying they both have this in common.
But there are, just to point out, scholars who do think Genesis 1, well, unanimous critical scholarship says it's demythologized, which means there seems to be something of like an ancient water beast from like Tiamat, or you could go to Lotan, Leviathan, Ophion, various different dragon water deities that were split or destroyed and created the cosmos. Yes. But in Genesis 1,
Ophion's blood creates
It's demythologized. So they purposely are keeping out that, we'll call it pagan, because we're going to call it pagan because they're trying to be more scientific.
Just to keep things like very neat. We're just going to use that term.
They're trying to be more sophisticated and get away from that.
We understand they don't call themselves pagans, and we understand that's a word that Christians call other people. We're just going to use it so we can categorize.
Exactly.
Just for the sake of language, we're just going to use that term, okay?
But so while everyone, no matter who they are, supplementary hypothesis, documentary hypothesis, the guys who are in the minimalist, maximalist, they all say Genesis 1 is demythologized. Looks like there could have been an earlier mythology, which they go to Genesis 2 or through the Psalms. We see language of a water creature beast that Yahweh or El is fighting and creates the cosmos from its corpse, etc., which we see in earlier Mesopotamian material. There are some scholars just saying that actually think Genesis 1 is really Hellenistic. And I know that's a radical...
Listen to this, too. So the Pythagoras is apparently the apprentice of a man named Pherecydes of Syros. Pherecydes of Syros basically was known for creating a new theogony to replace Hesiod's theogony, in which he took Eastern, Babylonian, and Egyptian elements and intertwined it with the Greek. And he did, apparently it was, according to the source that I was reading, it's a more rational, concrete version than Hesiod's. So you're already starting to see Hesiod getting changed into something. Pherecydes is doing this. Pherecydes claims to get this knowledge from the Phoenicians, which are the Semitic people, which is interesting. So we're not being like Greek supremacists here. We're looking at this from all angles. Like, there are people there are Phoenicians over here, there's Egyptians over here, there's Babylonians, and they're all contributing stuff. And by the way, Pythagoras, who was the student of Pherecydes, says that he spent 10 years in Babylon and 10 years in Egypt and learned all his knowledge before he left to Croton, Italy, and set up the museum. He set up an Apollo museum there, and he got all his knowledge from all these different places. So it's not like we're not saying the Greeks are smarter than everyone else. What we're saying is these Greeks went around the world and compiled the knowledge, and they should get credit for that.
This is so interesting you bring up. I'm glad you mentioned that, because in that book, and this is a radical, I mean, he's had death threats on his life. I think it was death threats or even violence to him. Argonauts of the Desert. If you have not read this, you just wait till you see what I reveal in the documentary coming up, thanks to Neil Godfrey, who actually wrote articles based on this, introducing this book to me. But in this book, he points out, historically, it is a fact. You have Phoenicia, you have, the Canaanite regions and their religions, which Ugaritic and whatnot. You have Mesopotamia, you have Egyptian. All of these power structures and the religious systems were not as popular, especially not at once, until the Greeks came in and revived them. Now they were so you had Mesopotamia at one point that was obviously the power of the world.
Yeah.
But then that dwindles. Egypt at one point. All of these older ideas, Greeks did not come in and go, we're superseding them, therefore cut them out. Like Christianity tries to come in and like crush everything before it and act like they're the one. Greeks came in and complemented by adopting and syncretizing to them. So it revived all of these.
They absorbed the cultures.
And they were not ashamed of that. Like
Alexander was known for dressing like a Persian when he was with Persians. Like a lot of people criticize him for that. A lot of those like Greek nationalists thought that was wrong. Mm-hmm, and but he was trying to be metropolitan. He was trying to absorb the cultures. He was trying to give everybody a fair, and he according to sources, I don't know.
But that's what's being documented.
I'm just giving you the sources, yeah.
And he documents that, and he's like, look, if there's one time in history where this all makes sense to have Mesopotamian, Egyptian mythology, all this stuff in your literature, it's Hellenism that really combines all this stuff.
This is the time, so that's perfect timing for me to go down this list, because it leads to Alexander. Perfect. Okay, so
we're complimenting each other.
I mentioned Thales. Thales does the water thing in the mind. Thales teach this is a straight line, and I said your friend that does that channel, useful charts. Mm-hmm. We should work with him on this, because this is a straight line from Thales to the Septuagint. Watch this. Thales teaches Anaximander, who taught that there was an unlimited all, an infinite being called the unlimited. Anaximander teaches Anaximenes. He calls it the arche, which means first. And it says the arche breathes air into matter and makes it life. So there's the idea of God breathing life like Adam and Eve. Arche. There you go. Right there. You have that idea. He teaches, these are students. It says teacher to student. Like this is
it's a genealogy.
Direct genealogy. He teaches Anaxagoras, who is real big on the nous, the mind of God. By the way, these people look at the gods, Aphrodite, Dionysus, Athena, as they're called daemons. So when you think of angels and demons, you don't call them. Most people who are Christian or Jewish or Muslim, they're not gods. They're angels and demons. But that's actually not true, because
at least today, modern Christians did not see it this way.
Well, technically, angel just means messenger.
Right.
Daemon is the correct term. It means deity. And a daemon was a deity that was an intermediary between that one, that all source that they call the nous, the mind, the demiurge, whatever there's different terms for it. But it's like it's almost like a monotheistic theology where there's this one God on top and there's daemons underneath it. So that's what you get. So Anaxagoras, here's a quote from Anaxagoras. Oh, I already said that one. All things were together. Then the mind came and set them in order. Okay. He teaches.
Oh, by the way, can I say one thing right there? Just, I don't want to throw us on a rabbit trail, but Athena and, in case you didn't see the documentary I did before, Athena and Prometheus breathe life. And in one of so there's variations of the myths. This is what's interesting, but wind came by into the clay, creating life, and they were the cause of it, or they breathed into it. Yeah. The American source is this stuff. So anyway.
Yeah. And these daemons were allotted their own like regions.
Exactly so what he says.
So like Athena rules Athens. Serapis rules Egypt. Yahweh is Israel. All these gods have their own regions. Anyways, Archelaus is the next student of Anaxagoras. Guess who he is? Pure naturalist, basically an atheist. His belief system is everything came about in a natural order. Like he basically had this idea that like the way the world was it was all water, and then the heat from the sun like had some reaction, and then like
he's trying to be scientific.
Yeah, like, and he was like that was like a big deal for the time,
right?
And so it's a big change from where I just was going with this genealogy. Mm-hmm. But the reason why he's important is because his big star student is Socrates.
We all know that
Socrates he's the one who decides that. I mean, he's kind of like a skeptic, where reserve judgment. Like, don't be a dogmatist. Always reserve judgment.
Question everything.
There is no like truth. Like, there's no like base. There's no like everything is. I mean, this even goes back to Heraclitus too. Heraclitus said that everything's in a state of flux. So there cannot be a solid truth, because what's true today might not be true tomorrow.
He's almost that's an interesting thing, because it's very subjective, and this
is where you get your today they call it postmodernism.
Right.
But Socrates was very much like that. And so we're getting closer to the big stuff. Just stay with me. I know some of this might be boring. He teaches Plato. Everyone knows Plato. Plato writes Timaeus. He writes the Republic. The reason why the Republic is such a big deal.
Critias.
Yeah, but the Republic, in the Republic, you got to read the Republic. In the Republic, he talks about how Homer is no good.
He's antagonistic to Homer.
The mythology, we need to replace Homer's mythology with something better for the youth. The youth need to be taught that the good shall inherit, I don't know if he uses the term heaven or not. He basically says the good go to a good place and the bad go to a bad place when they die. And you get these ideas from Plato.
Also, how to create a nation, all of this with foundation laws and stories. You have to put your laws as far back in antiquity as possible, the whole nine.
He says if you want to have a state where people follow the laws. They have to think these laws are divine and from God.
And way
And you
back.
see this in the Bible. Of course, you see that in the Deuteronomy. These laws are from God. And like, you know what I mean? So you're seeing things so these ideas are like all over the Greek world. The stuff that you see in the Bible are all over the Greek world. Plato teaches Aristotle. Okay. And Aristotle is the one who tutors Alexander the Great. This is when everything changes. He tutors Alexander the Great. And supposedly he taught him, he grew up teaching him basically anything he needs to know. But like, I guess there's some sources saying like he got into his head saying like he taught him about like how when the Athenians came to Athens and destroyed the temple to Athena and how devastating it was. And like he like revved up Alexander to like wanting to go into Persia and like take back what they deserve. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic. But one of the students of Aristotle is called Pyrrho the Skeptic. He was a skeptic. He was also a high priest of Zeus. Like, that's weird. He's a skeptic, but he's a high priest of Zeus.
Right.
That's just how the world was back then. You can be a skeptic and you can be religious at the same time.
Yeah, they would do that.
Yeah. Pyrrho the skeptic.
Look at Socrates was accused of being an atheist, and
yes.
he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't, but he was being accused of it because he had a different kind of skeptical angle on the gods and stuff. But anyway.
Yeah. So Pyrrho the skeptic is sent by Aristotle to travel with Alexander to the east. And then Aristotle's other student, his big student, Theophrastus, is the one who goes down to Alexandria to take all the knowledge that I just mentioned, all the data, all the gnosis from Thales down.
Yeah. And even before, even in Hesiod, like they're kind of taking and picking and cherry picking.
It's all in the hands of Theophrastus now. And he goes to Alexandria to start this library. Pyrrho the skeptic travels with Alexander. He meets with the Magi. He meets with the gymnosophists, the naked philosophers, the Brahmins. So they're starting to learn Eastern stuff. Mm-hmm. Pyrrho the skeptic goes and brings that back to Alexandria. Alexander dies. So you get the wars. You get the Seleucids fighting against the Ptolemies. And you get this is where Demetrius jumps in the picture.
Yeah.
Demetrius of Phalerum was also a student of Aristotle. And when Aristotle left, he was the student of Theophrastus. Demetrius of Phalerum, we already told you who he was, all the stuff that he did.
He built out, just for those who are tuning in now, because 270 people, he built out the Alexandrian Library.
Yeah, he was part of that building project.
But he was also going around the world collecting.
Well, I mean, let me get there. Let me tell you what happened before that, though. So this is crazy. So Alexander dies, and Antigonus the One-Eye was he was a general that was so old that he was a general for Philip of Macedon. That's Alexander's father. He was a general for him and Alexander. And so Alexander said, you rule Macedon while I'm in Babylon. And so that's where he was. When Alexander died, Cassander, another general who was married to Alexander's sister,
I was going to say daughter.
Her name is Thessaloniki, named after the city where the book of the
Thessalonians.
Yeah, like that's her name, Thessaloniki.
First and Second Thessalonians.
So they're royal. She's the sister of the great god Alexander the Great. He's married to her, right? But he wants to take Macedon for himself. So he usurps Antigonus, takes over the city. Now, Demetrius of Phalerum was the right-hand man of Cassander. Now think of that. The best comparison, if you want to think of like what Demetrius was like, if you've ever seen Game of Thrones, Littlefinger, Peter Baelish, that's him.
If you don't know, you got to watch it.
Scheming, always thinking of the next
move. But he was smart.
Always trying to get himself to the next high, trying to go up the ladder. And I'll show you why. Because what happens is, because of his loyalty in helping Cassander, by the way, Cassander killed Alexander the Great's mother, Olympias. They tracked her down and killed her. Took over Macedonia. And then he became the king of Macedonia. because of Demetrius's help in doing so and his loyalty, he gave him Athens. So Demetrius becomes the king of Athens, the archon of Athens. And so he's there for like 10 to 12 years, something like that. However, another guy named Demetrius, this is confusing, just stay with me, I promise it gets good. Another guy named Demetrius, who's called Demetrius the Savior. There's a reason why. Demetrius Soter. He's the son of Antigonus the One-Eye, who just was murdered and usurped. He goes in and he goes back to Macedonia, takes back the kingdom, kills Cassander, deposes him, and puts back Macedonia back to where it was when Alexander the Great left it. So he gets the name Soter, Savior. And he gets worshipped as a god for this. Like he saved them from this tyrant, Cassander, who wanted to bring oligarchy. All right. So what happens now? Demetrius of Phalerum is still in Athens, and he gets word that Demetrius the Soter just conquered Macedonia, and his days are limited. He's next. They're going to come down and kill him. Like you're done, dude. You're an enemy of the state. So what does he do? Just like Peter Baelish, the little finger of Game of Thrones,
flips sides every time.
He flips sides, goes to the Ptolemies, and he becomes the head guy of the court of the Ptolemies, and he helps build the Alexandrian library.
I tried to use Herod, just letting our audience know. We walked this morning, and I was trying to explain, like, all right, because I'm trying to wrap my head around this is stuff that Neil's been studying for a while now, and I haven't. And it made me think of Herod. Herod was his first like devoted commitment was to Pompey. Pompey dies. That means because Pompey was enemies with Augustus. What does Herod do? He goes and kisses Augustus's ass and says, look, dude, and Augustus is like, dude, I could kill you right now. Why should I not? And he goes, I will be the best friend you have ever had in your life. And wouldn't you know it? Go check out Maritime Caesarea. Go check out Caesarea Philippi. Go look at these places where Augustus had temples built by Herod in honor and even worship. Here's a Jew who's like supposed to be religious, and yet
temples to Augustus.
Dude, this guy was kissing Augustus.
But that's what Demetrius of Phalerum was like. He knew that his days in Greece were over. So he flees. He knows that the Ptolemies are at war with the Macedonians,
right?
Just like they're at war with the Seleucids. They're all at war with each other. It's the Diadochi Wars, right? So he goes down there, and the same thing actually happens to him. Ptolemy is like, why should I kill you?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I kill you? And apparently, according to Diogenes Laertius, he persuaded him and said, I will run the library.
That's how you know he wasn't just a complete, like,
he was smart.
He wasn't just an introvert. Like, this guy had to have been,
he was brilliant.
Both sides. You know what I mean?
He was brilliant. And so so now he's in Alexandria. He's building this library. He starts collecting, and he becomes obsessed with collecting books. In fact, Josephus tells us all about this.
Oh yeah, pull that
in book 12.
So there's so much going on here. We're in Josephus, a historian who's documenting what it's circling around is the Septuagint, the translation, as we love to call it, of the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah. So listen to what he says. Demetrius Phalereus who was a library keeper to the king Ptolemy, was now trying, if it was possible, to gather all the books that were in the habitable earth, and buying whatever was anywhere valuable or agreeable to the king's inclination, to which inclination of Demetrius was zealously subservient. And once Ptolemy asked him how many thousands of books he had collected, he replied, he had about 20,000 times 10,000, but that in a little time, he should have 50 times 10,000.
So he is commissioned to find all the knowledge.
He wants all the books in the world, right? Now, but he said that he had been informed that there were many books of laws among the Jews worthy of inquiring after. And worthy of the king's library, but which were written in characters in a dialect of their own, will cause no small pains getting them translated into the Greek tongue. Basically, he's like, we know it's Syriac and we know Aramaic. We'll figure it out. We have translators.
Right.
So that the characters written seem to look like the Syrians, and of that sounded the same when pronounced, also like theirs too. So basically, it's like he's like basically saying it looks like Aramaic, Syriac, it's Hebrew, but this is what they're saying. And then he says, thus that he hindered that they might not get those books to be translated also, for nothing wanting is necessary. Okay, now you can read this on your own, but he mentions,
just so people know where it's at, book 12 in Josephus, chapter 2.
But I just have a few things highlighted that are really important.
Is this War of the Jews?
It's just Josephus.
Oh, the complete works of Josephus.
No, it's Antiquities.
Okay,
Antiquities.
Got it.
Okay, so they mention, so then Josephus mentions a bunch of names of people that are helping him in this project, and these are people from Italy, people from Carthage, he's mentioning people from all over the Mediterranean. This is like an international project. This is like a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then he says, Demetrius says to them, I have learned, he's talking to the Jewish high priest. He says, I have learned by particular inquiry, for both these people and we also worship the same God, the framer of all things. We call him by the name Xena, life, or Jupiter, because he breathes life. There it is again, breathing, because he breathes life into all men. Wherefore, restore these men to their own country, and this to do in honor of God, because these men pay a peculiar, excellent worship to him. Now, so this is the part that I think is interesting. And this is where I'm going to let you take over, because this gets into the Russell Gemerkin stuff and some other stuff.
I also have Dr. Amon, I want to give
Dr. Amon has been screaming from the rooftop, because he's a classicist who knows Greek, Attic Greek. He thinks that the text is native Greek.
Okay.
He thinks that the translation is Hebrew. So anyways, I'm just throwing that out there. There's a credible source.
Right. But just so you know, Gemerkin thinks it was originally written in Hebrew and translated into Greek.
Yeah.
So
right. Okay. All right. But here's what it says. So now you're wondering. I mentioned Hecataeus of Abdera. Oh, I didn't mention him yet. I'm sorry. I have to mention Hecataeus of Abdera.
Yeah. Who is he?
Pyrrho the skeptic, who traveled with Alexander the Great and came back to Alexandria. He had a student named Hecataeus of Abdera. Now this guy, Pyrrho the skeptic, who traveled the world with Alexander, brought back big chunks of cuneiform blocks. He met with magi. He met with Brahmins, and he brought all the stuff he brought to Alexandria.
He's talking about Hecataeus.
Yeah, and guess what he writes about? He has the first book of all time that mentions Moses or Abraham. What? I thought those books are written in the 8th century, 9th century. You might find that Mesha Stele says David and Omri on it. Kings and Chronicles stuff might be. There's no Moses or Abraham until Hecataeus of Abdera in the 4th century BCE. He's the student of Pyrrho the skeptic, the first person to ever mention Moses or Abraham. And he says that the Jews are from Crete. He doesn't say he says they're from Crete and they went to Egypt. And then he says that the god Ammon hated them and kicked them out of Egypt. And then they went to Israel.
This isn't Manetho, right? Where Manetho thinks that they were.
Yeah, that's the first story you get about the Jews.
You got it. Okay.
All right.
Because if you go to Herodotus, just so people know, you won't find them. They're not mentioned. And he went through these regions.
You have to mention that. We have so much text that predate all this stuff. Herodotus, Xenophon, Thucydides. There's books and books and books and books and books and books and books in Greek. There's writers from all over the place. There's Babylon. Like there's texts all over the place. Israel is never mentioned.
Mention what you said, because I did not know this about the Minerva stele and thought, okay, this is Israel on a stele from Egypt.
Yeah, and so the Minerva stele, people think it says Israel on there.
Is it Finkelstein that you said?
Israel Finkelstein, who's the top of the line.
Him and William Deaver.
He points it out. He says, look, they're not mentioning nations. They're mentioning cities. Why would they mention a nation in a list of cities? Israel's a nation. Why would they're mentioning all these cities from that time period. that existed in that time period, Jezreel would be spelled exactly the same way in those Egyptian letters as Israel. Jezreel was a city that existed in that time. So the Meneptah Stele doesn't mention Israel, it mentions Jezreel.
According to
Israel Finkelstein. Okay. Now, so you're wondering, here's the proof, though. I got proof that there's no mention right here. Josie, it's right in front of your face. And you have to think about it for a second. Josephus says, for which cause is it? Hecataeus of Abdera says that the poets and historians make no mention of it, meaning the Torah, the Bible, the books of Moses. He says that Hecataeus says that the reason why the historians and poets have make no mention of this stuff, nor those men who lead their lives according to it, since it is a holy law and ought not to be published by profane mouths. So listen,
it's an argument of absence.
He's doing apologetics. Josephus is saying, okay, the reason why Israel or the Bible is never mentioned before Hecataeus of Abdera is because it's so holy that normal people were not allowed to know about this stuff.
Right. That's why you didn't.
But
hear
what does that tell you? It proves that there is no mention of Abraham or Moses before Hecataeus of Abdera. So, because otherwise he would not say that.
It's an interesting thing. So at the end of the day, if there wasn't a mention, if it was being mentioned, there's no way to prove it was. Is my point. Because you're saying there's no evidence before that's according to Josephus.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And when is this? This is during Hecataeus, which is 4th century.
Yes. So let me clarify what I mean by this. You might be like, what are you trying to say here? If Abraham and Moses were known figures before Hecataeus of Abdera, 6th century, 5th century, 7th century BCE, if these people were known figures, okay, why would Hecataeus of Abdera say the reason why you've never heard of him is because he's so holy? But wait, they already heard of him. No, this signifies that people didn't know who they were.
And let me make one.
Do you understand
comment.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me make one comment that I think is important. Josephus, Eusebius, you get to these historians because he is a bona fide historian. Whether you trust everything he says or not, and you shouldn't trust everything any of these all say, but you got to take it with a grain of salt. Be skeptical of that as well. What I find interesting is they're hunting sources to the best of their damn abilities to find stuff. Because look, he's in combat, and I'm talking about pin combat.
Yeah,
he's trying to defend his Jewish national root and heritage up against those who might say, hey, we came first. How often do you have them say stuff like, well, Plato got that from Moses?
Oh, they do. They say Plato is a Atticized Moses.
Now think about this. Think of the logic I'm here with you. Follow me real quick.
Right.
I have one.
They try so hard to make it flip.
Right.
They're trying to make it think it's the other way around. It's not.
Let me make one little point here that I think is just not observed by the Christians who go in this.
Yeah.
Josephus says that if there's any commonality, Mr. Derek, who likes to see parallels, Mythvision and Gnostic form, y'all like to look and see if there's any commonalities. Josephus admits the reason is because Plato borrowed from Moses. So there's an admission on behalf of Eusebius, Josephus, that they're borrowing, but this is the way. That's why I brought up Argonauts of the Desert here. Yeah. This guy who wrote this book, Philip Wagenbaum, it's a very difficult thing to spell. Let me pull it up on the screen so people see. He argues in the introduction and throughout this book that the actual commission is the opposite direction. Josephus and them are trying to say our heritage is older, y'all borrow from us. But the reality is, the argument, the evidence is on the side of, no, you guys borrowed from the Greeks. And the reason, and then he gives several points. One is Greeks are not ashamed to say, hey, we got this from Egypt. Hey, we got this from these people. Hey, they credited people. They had no problem saying at all. There was no fear of saying, we got this from you guys. And in fact, they even did art that backed up where they got their stuff from, inscriptions, archaeology, you name it. Whereas we have none the opposite direction.
Yeah.
There is no Jewish art.
And guess what? Manetho's writing in the 3rd century BCE. So his sources for all this stuff should be the Bible. That's not what he says. He says his source is Hecataeus of Abdera. Why would he do that?
And we would not.
Why wouldn't he say, I got this from the books of Moses? He says, Hecataeus of Abdera says this.
Right. He's sourcing another.
He's sourcing Hecataeus of Abdera.
And I just want to make one comment. We're not saying, and neither are the scholars that we're referencing here that are coming with this position. We're not saying everything was invented at this time. We're saying this Demetrius guy. Let me give an analogy before we get into this. For those who watch Netflix, who's ever watched Making a Murderer and was like irate after watching this documentary, this guy named Stephen Avery got 18 years or some crap for a rape he never did. Then they found him innocent. Next thing you know, a year or two later, they find this woman who was murdered. They found the bones, all this stuff on the property. You go watch the documentary. You'll see what I'm saying. At the end of the day, this guy is still in prison. He has I think it's a nephew or something, like a younger cousin. I can't remember. He's also in prison. They like coercively got a confession out of him. And the kid he's not all there. You can tell he isn't like, they kind of forced that confession out of him. Now, my point is, why is he still in prison? According to the court of law, if you have a suspect that's the most likely and you don't have another one to point the finger at, that's why they think he was probably the one who did it. They don't have another suspect. That was the uphill battle that his attorneys had on trying to show that Stephen Avery was innocent.
I forgot.
I just want to say this point, and this is my point. Neil's saying that the only person we have that we can really point to, we can't prove that this is the case, but based on the literature, it looks like the guy behind the commissioning of this literature, what does it mean to gather the laws, Neil? Does it mean they just took older pieces of Jewish ideas?
You notice how it only says laws. It doesn't say stories, epics. It doesn't say narratives. It just says laws.
Right. What does it mean exactly?
Well, there probably was some form of Deuteronomy, or there probably was some actual form of Deuteronomy in Hebrew.
But all the evidence.
That's what I think.
You're pointing out that all of the written evidence from Josephus.
No, the narratives, the flood story, the story of Abraham, the story of Jacob. Those are the stories that are being written in this time period. That's what I think. So
the compilation of
I think they're using sources.
Okay.
I think they're using legit Hebrew sources. Legit. But they're not translating them as word for word. They're using it to write a new thing.
By the way, Kip's got a point here. He says it's because he actually did it. That's why he's in prison. There could be evidence, by the way. I heard the documentary is kind of giving you a one-sided thing. There's evidence that maybe he did it. The point is if the picture we have, and we don't have all the evidence that the lawyers, really have that was really in the case, the picture we have makes you a little irritated in thinking he maybe didn't murder her. But my point is, all we have are these fragments of ancient little things mentioning this guy Demetrius, who's there in the building of Alexandria, and who's the guy that might have commissioned or actually put this whole thing together, the scriptures that we're talking about.
And then he says this too. Okay, so Demetrius and another guy from Italy are the ones who took 70 elders from the Hebrew tribes, 6 from each tribe, put them in different rooms, and they had them write the story. This is like some fairy tale version of what happened. It's propaganda, easily. If you believe it, fine, cool. That's in the sources. You can use that as a source. Fair. I'm all down for people who just use sources. If you use that as a source, go ahead. But I don't believe it. Now, Demetrius says the same thing Hecataeus says. This is so funny. This is a double. You just got the one punch. Now you're getting the uppercut.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay. Let's hear.
He says, so the king rejoiced when he saw that the design of this nature was brought to perfection. Talking about the book, to such great advantage, he was chiefly delighted with hearing the laws read to him, and was astonished at the deep meaning and wisdom of the lawgiver. And he began to discourse with Demetrius how it came to pass. And when this legislation was so wonderful, no one, either of the poets or the historians, had made mention of it. So Xenophon, Herodotus, Thucydides, they never mentioned these laws, right? That's what they're saying right here. Demetrius made this answer, that no one dared to be bold as to touch upon the description of these laws, because they were divine and venerable, and because some that attempted were afflicted by God. If you talked about the Torah, you would die.
That is such an
Do you believe that? Like, come on, guys, put your head. Do you actually believe this? Seriously.
Yeah.
This tells you that this is a new thing.
Right.
And I think Gamerkin and Dr. Amon and others who think that the Bible is a Hellenistic era text.
Well, this guy,
I think they're right. And by the way, Maccabees, Daniel, those are Zechariah, all these apocalyptic nature. These are all Hellenistic era texts. You even have experts in Hebrew and Aramaic who say when they look at Daniel, they'll say this is not written in 500. This is written in like probably 150 BC.
Right, 170 or
yeah. They're like, this is way later.
Yeah.
So if those texts are way later, it's like what?
So this is the interesting thing. All of the guys that we're talking about that are what we would call minimalist or coming from like a Hellenistic kind of angle are not denying old. They think like Hosea. They think these other prophets are ancient. Okay, and that those are sources that are being used in the compilation of this. They're not saying all this was invented. I also want to
clarify what you can give what you think happened. I'll give what I think happened.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's black and white. I think there's some gray area here on what's going on.
Okay. We'll get to super chats here in a minute. I will say this.
What do you think happened?
Honestly, let's say no matter what.
How did the Bible get created? That's the question.
So for me, I personally think there's several sources, old ancient sources. Okay. You said it yourself, right? Let's just say Demetrius is their guy. Since we don't have any other suspects, Demetrius is the guy who's commissioned to go. He builds the.
Did we show them the elephantine yet?
No, we're going to get to that in a minute. Just to back up what we're saying, there's various arguments you can make here.
No, we should show them now because we have to show that. This is so important. This is proof that before the time of Demetrius, Jews were still polytheistic.
So right here, the Jews had their own temple of Yahweh. This is 5th to 4th century BCE.
4th century. This is not that far back.
This is not ancient 7th, 8th century.
Persian period.
Which functioned alongside that of the Egyptian god Khnum. Along with Yahweh, other deities, Anat Batel, Asham Bethel, seem to have been worshipped by these Jews. This is just Wikipedia, but you can actually go and look at it.
No, you can show them the source. Highlight that 15 right here. So, okay, that's from the Tetragrammaton.
Of course, Yahweh.
All right.
That's just the name Yahweh.
This is from Sachi, Paulo Sachi, the temple. See, this
is an expert in.
So, we have real sources here.
Right, of course.
People talk down about Wikipedia. You shouldn't. Just check the sources. That's all.
Go look at it yourself. It says like literally right here.
Wikipedia is fine. Just check the sources.
Polytheistic beliefs. Anyone who goes and reads several of the places, like in Deuteronomy 32, you can see this kind of remnant of what looks polytheistic or henotheistic. You have an older multi-god system. 5th, 4th century BCE, they're still doing this. Now, one can argue, and this is this
is only 100 years before Demetrius.
But this is the apologetic. They'll go, well, in Jerusalem, it was strict monotheism, but in this place, it's polytheism.
Show me.
Gamirkin points this out.
No, my question is, you can't just say that. You have to show me that.
Right.
You have no right to just implement that into the conversation.
You've watched the same discussions with Gamirkin in the past, and he points out that the Elephantine wrote Jerusalem. They were commissioning it. Like, cool, you guys are good.
Exactly.
So why would they be, hey, we're hyper monotheist in Jerusalem, but we're cool with what you guys are doing down there as Jews with your own temple and everything.
Doesn't make sense.
Right. So
especially archaeology shows that Asherah poles are still around.
Why all the way then? It's just tough for me to think that Josiah
What's more likely? A guy like Demetrius comes along with all this Greek knowledge that there's this one God that's in control of all the daemons and angels. What's that he brings this to the table, or the other way around? We know that Demetrius had this knowledge. Right. We don't know that they did.
That's why
I'm just going with what the sources tell me.
If you ask me, looking at Jonathan Adler, who is like on the cutting edge of the origins of Judaism, he points out these are his words. I'm not even putting these out there. This is not me and his conspiracy Mythvision propaganda here. He has said in all of his research, archaeologically, there is no evidence pretty much before what happens with the Maccabees. Okay. There is no evidence before that time period of Judaism being practiced.
And by the way, all those Maccabees, they all have Greek names.
Right.
Jason Maccabees and like they're all Hellenized.
I've asked him too. I was like, dude, what if there was like this small, tiny little priestly sect that had one pool in there? He goes, I mean, we might be missing something. That's possible, but it's like, as far as I know right now, he says there's no evidence before this time period that Judaism as a religion was practiced or believed on this level. You get the Elephantine, you're looking at some weird stuff. This is not Judaism on that level. There are remnants, though. You might see similarities to things that become Judaism later, but this is like the primitive little molding prints that someone finally got together and said, let's make this
But you know what?
Religion.
Even in the first century, when you start getting a break off from Christianity and Talmudic, what do you call it? What kind of Judaism is rabbinic Judaism?
Right.
When you start seeing that break off, even so, a lot of people will say, obviously, the Christians are the more Hellenized ones. The Gospels are Greek. Yeah, of course. But even the rabbinic Jews are very Platonic. They're writing dialogues with a Mishnah and a Gemara going back and forth, the same way that Socrates and Archelaus are going back and forth. It's very Platonic. And by the way, they call themselves sages. The word sage in Greek is sophos, wisdom, sophos.
And if you're interested in a book,
let me finish this. Let me finish this. Sophos, Greek. In Hebrew, it's I wrote it down. It's hakmenu, wisdom. They call themselves sages. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Jews and the Roman rivals, Cattell Berthelot. She shows how indebted pagan Rome, before it became Christian, had a huge impact on Jews. And it's kind of like, I hate using this analogy, but it's an analogy worth using because it kind of tells you, like, the apologetic is, no, they borrowed from the Jews. No, they were influenced by the Jews. No. Any type of thing you're going to find, it's not because the Jews borrowed from them. They're holy people. They would never do such a thing. It's always the other way around. You get it from Josephus. You get it from the church fathers. But the other problem is like the nations that were in charge, that conquered and were in control, the influence comes from the conqueror.
Yeah.
Take what happened with, this is why I hate using the example, but take what happened with slavery in America. The influence was the white man impacted the slave. You didn't have like these huge societies of people that were like, I'm copying the tribalism of these slaves that we got from Africa. It was always the conqueror that did this. And it's a bad example, but it's true. But
it's all, sometimes the conquered also gets their culture, and you get like down Santeria is down in South America and in those islands down there, and that comes from Africa.
Well, today we're seeing cultural infusion, but I'm saying at that time,
like when the Romans conquered the Greeks, the Greek culture swept in. So sometimes it goes both ways.
I just had to use that. I hate using that analogy, but it's still one that makes a point that the conquered is usually the one making the influence.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah,
and so there's that huge apologetic of always trying to make it. Because they don't want, what is the implication if you're this literalist who absolutely needs to believe that the influence is from the Jews because their God is the true one? It's like saying, if you're a Muslim and I say to you, hey, look, how did the Quran come to be? And he said, an angel in a cave literally told my prophet Muhammad. And I said, well, what's in your book? And I open your book and I go, wow, that looks like the Sleepers of Ephesus, a Christian thing in the 3rd century. Holy smokes, you're talking about the dual horn, dual carnine. That looks like the same Alexander romance thing's been sweeping around for like 5 centuries. And they go, no, it only came from an angel in a cave.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up.
It's like, bro, no, it came from
previous 7 sleepers.
Yes.
Like you get all these texts that show from the Quran that you see in Byzantine works, which was the period that Islam came out of. But to back up a little bit, Berosus is a Chaldean writing in Greek. He's writing ancient Babylonian stories. And people always say this as an argument for early authorship of the Torah. It's because of all these references that look like Ishtar stories, Marduk stories, Tiamat stories. And this is great argument. Great argument. However, Berosus has this there already. Berosus already is.
This is the point.
Not only does Berosus have these stories in the 3rd century BCE, but we have cuneiform tablets that talk about Alexander the Great. That means in the Greek period, when the Greeks were ruling all of Persia and Babylon, the Middle East, cuneiform was still being in use and was translated and written with which means that argument's out the window. You don't have to go back to 3000 BC or 900 BC to write the Torah anymore. It can be done in 200 or 300 BCE. We have the tools are there.
Yeah. I gotta, like, here's an example for, this is the thinking that I just don't understand how, if you're really seriously critical, you should be critical of your own position as well. But when I hear stuff like, look, the Quran just reiterates what the original Bible and Torah said. Now, listen, the reason that is said is because this is exactly what Muslim teachings tell you, is that, like, no, they just corrected the wrong stuff. And here's the interesting thing. If you take a Hellenistic period for the actual creation of what we consider the totality of our Bibles, let's say, and it was still it wasn't set in stone. Things were still being written and changed. My point is, you're talking 800-900 years before you come around.
Dude.
You don't have any of those sources. You have none of the sources except the story that a guy in a cave with an angel is giving you the correct understanding. We should be very cautious instead of just believing in the propaganda.
The early Muslims were very brilliant, and they were very, they were deep thinkers. They were philosophical. These people were. And
I just don't know. I mean, assuming they have the correct original version of any of that, we have no copies of anything original to show that.
Well, one of the doctrines that comes from the Socratics and pre-Socratics is the idea of where did I have it written here? The idea that, like, incomprehensibility. It's called the doctrine of incomprehensibility. It means God is so, like, unknowable. It's incomprehensible that you can't put a face on it. It looks like Islam seems to have that mentality, like it's
right.
And by the way, the Arabics early on, the 8th and 9th century, were translating Aristotle. Do you know that a lot of the stuff, we lost Aristotle's works,
and it was preserved
by the Arabics?
Right.
There was an Islamic golden age in the 9th. People don't know that in the 9th century, the Arabs were ruling the world. They were the Mecca, like it was called the Islamic golden age, 9th century. And they were on top of mathematics and geometry and everything.
This is true, and I'm not.
So everyone always tries to put Islam in this camp. Is like if you're a Christian or a Jew, like you have nothing on Islam. You just look dumb if you're trying to make yours look better than theirs is.
It seems like special pleading and double standards.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm calling all of it out.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like yours is no better. Sorry.
And I hear the Christians go against the Muslims go against the Christians, and that debate always happens. And I'm sitting here like, and then I get, in the chats, who was it just now that said, they said Twizzard said you should debate your position on the crucible. So Neil might do debates.
Oh, I might.
Depends on
what it is.
See, here's the thing. I don't do debates.
Yeah, I don't care. I'll do it.
And if I need to give a reason why I don't debate people, I can. One of them's I like to keep my ego and my learning, like to where I'm always flexible to learn. Because when you're defending a position as someone, all of these people that are sitting here debating, that are doing this endless online rhetoric, are probably learning from their master, their teacher, who they claim is the guy. And they're not like, I did this for years back in the day. I did debate. They're arguing and debating for what is the truth.
Trying to catch you in something.
But here's the thing. They are right in their position. And to me, I'm like, look, I'm not interested in sitting here acting like I have all the answers. But if you're not using common sense critical thinking, when your book comes 900 years after a source, you have zero original sources, and your narrative is an angel in a cave told a guy. And I have all the evidence outside of your book to show that the material in your book is coming from pre-existent sources surrounding this area. We now know Christians were in Arabia. We now know Jews were traveling in this time. It was not blocked off from Christianity. There were Christian monasteries down in Arabia.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, like, all the evidence points to natural development for the Quran and why this is the case.
Yeah, you see Gnostic elements in there too.
Tons of it.
The story of Iblis in the Quran, the story of Iblis. Basically, Iblis is Satan. And Iblis is supposed to bow to Adam. And Iblis says, why would I bow to a mortal? No, I'm not going to do that. And then Allah kicks him out of paradise. Well, there's a story in there's a a Coptic text, and I think it's Satan. I'm not sure. It could be a different angel or it's Satan. Yeah, it's Satan. And Satan's same thing. Hey, Satan, bow to Adam. No, I will not bow to Adam. Okay, you're kicked out of paradise. It's in the Quran.
Right. And you like, where did this come from?
Where did that come from? Who? I wonder where.
And unless you show me the sources, well, their sources, angel told him in a cave is a revelation.
Yeah.
The thing is like, you don't have any primary anything to show any of that and claim you have this. Like, we have original copies. The Jews distorted all the others, but ours are true.
Right.
Dude, this is exactly what anyone who's going to create, like Plato says, create your law, say it dates back the oldest.
Yeah, they're
it's
just
the same playbook.
The Arabs found the playbook and they followed it, and it worked.
It worked.
They look at the results,
and it's so good.
They ended up
people
conquering all of the Eastern Roman Empire, everything from North Africa, all of Egypt, all of the Mediterranean, all of the Levant, and most of Turkey too.
The only people who ever conquered more quicker were Mongols. That was it.
Yeah.
So but it was obviously a sword. They also had a good. They hired people on. There was all sorts of reasons their warfare went well. There's a book written by
people.
I can't even think of his name right now.
I'm not singling you out. People always say this about Muslims, that they did it by the sword. So did everybody else.
Exactly. I'm just saying.
They always say they conquered with the sword. Like it's some sort of. It's like, so did the Romans.
I agree.
So did the Persians.
I want to make that point though. It wasn't just their ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's how everything is.
Right. But in the Greek world, Alexander the Great, look at how he did it. And notice who's dual carnine. Who's the greatest example, but the conqueror himself, who ends up being Alexander the Great. That's another thing that Muslims watch, they get irritated. They go, how do you know he's Alexander the Great? Dude, several early exegetes of the Quran were like, this is Alexander the Great. They had no problem with saying that. Then others might have tried to say it was someone in Persia or something.
There's okay, so if you look at the dual carnane text in the Quran, it mentions that there's two mountains, and the dual carnane builds a border to keep out the people from Gog and Magog. Now, if you go back to the Alexander romance, Alexander goes where there's two, literally says two mountains, and then builds a border to keep out Goth and Magog. It's the same text, except one of them has dual carnane. And by the way, it gets even crazier, because guess what happens when you look up Alexander the Great's coin? Are you going to show him?
I'm just pulling up dual carnane.
Just show him the coin real quick.
I'm trying to figure out how do you spell dual carnane.
Show him that coin right there.
Real quick here. Let me share my screen.
Okay, that coin.
The two horn.
That is the most that coin was in service. They found that coin. Archaeologists have found this coin in Europe, like where modern day France is. It's also in India. This coin was the most circulated coin on the planet during the time of the Quran. He has two horns on his head. Well, you can see one, but obviously
he's known for the two horns.
He's known for being the son of deity. It means divine.
Right.
He's the two-horned. He's the two-horned guy. He set up a barrier to keep out Gog and Magog in between two mountains,
and that's Armageddon.
Between these two texts, there's so much in common that to me it's like impossible. It's like a 0.1% chance that it could be a coincidence.
There was like an apocalyptic thing about Gog Magog with this wall that was happening in the culture, the world at the time. I want to bring up something here. Tommaso Tessi, I interviewed him in the past, who actually talks about this two-horned one. He's like a leading expert when it comes to Quranic studies, and actually found this story is outside of the Quran, predates it by centuries, and it's Tommaso Tessi. So if you ever look up the dual carnine, check out Tommaso Tessi. I've done an interview with him. We talk about this, and he pretty much just nails it. He searched the Syriac manuscripts that were outside the whole.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Good point. The Greek Alexander romance was written in Syriac and Arabic before the Quran was written. They had versions of it,
right?
So they already had. There's so much evidence that points towards them using it.
So why would we say? Why would we jump to the magical, the supernatural, the revelation, and why regurgitate that unless it's like prideful? It's my, and I have no interest personally. I have no interest debating anyone, let alone one that's just going to find any loophole out of any explanation for historical, critical, obvious common sense to me.
Right.
It's like, okay, it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it's a zebra. To me, it's like we can't even rationally, I don't think, make sense of this without, like, you would do this with the Bible. Muslims watch my stuff all the time and go, hallelujah, you're right about that book of Genesis. Oh, wow, you're right about the Gospels being extremely Hellenized and Greek and stuff. Then we get to the Quran. Oh, you're wrong about that. And it's like, but then vice versa. Christians will see what I say about Islam and they're like, yeah.
Whatever one you grew up in has got to be the right one.
It just never ends.
It just has to be.
Super chats?
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, we've been going like
I think we told the story we wanted to tell.
Demetrius
I just wanted
to
teach you. Demetrius of Philarium is a guy who put together a text that everybody in the world knows what it is today.
And that's the Bible. And so
he should be a household name.
Like the whole New Testament, I would say the whole, including Revelation, but I could be mistaken on this because it seems like his original tongue wasn't Greek, because that's probably the worst written New Testament book. But it's indebted to the LXX, to the Septuagint.
Yeah.
And so your entire New Testament is indebted to a man who compiled, like, making sure.
That's the one thing I wanted to ask you. We wanted to ask,
the 70 Jews.
What do you think happened? Based on what we said, how do you think the Bible started? When do you think it was written? By who? Which side was translated?
I think I'm with you with it being gray and not knowing.
That's
but
what
as far as like, I do think there was like this, let's put these texts and make it into this narrative.
Yeah.
And the more I study from these people like Russell Gamirkan and study from the scholar here who did Argonauts of the Desert, Philip Wagenbaum, Lemke, Philip R. Davies, a lot of minimalist school, Thomas L. Thompson, people like this who turned over the consensus of Abraham being a historical guy, Moses, these things. I'm starting to get further and further, like, later.
I'm asking for more evidence on the other side of there being stories of Abraham and Moses in the sixth show, like where I just want someone to show me that. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm open to it.
Kip said something about an Exodus that was mentioned, but it was an anonymous person. Moses wasn't part of it. And it's in one of these older 8th century, I think. I might be mistaken. I might have missed. I think Kip was saying something about Hosea was written 8th century. That seems to be
that. Oh, that's what I was going to say for my answer. I think some of these prophet texts are legit.
Yeah.
And I think some of that stuff was probably incorporated. The law, some of those law books. I don't think they translated these texts verbatim. I think they took the text, used them as sources, and then made something new out of it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that best explains everything.
Right.
I think that's the way to. I think there had to have been some Hebrew native sources that they got their hands on.
100%, dude. That there's not a single person that we're talking about, like this guy right here.
You're just going way too far with you're trying too hard to fight to argue for one side. Like let's look at the data for what it is. Like there had to have been actual sources that these people found. Like Demetrius, he's trying to compile everything and bring it in, but I do think that he put together something brand new from it.
Right.
That's what I think.
I wouldn't be shocked. All of them say that they are working with older sources.
Yeah.
They're not denying that at all. But they're saying that the final composition of this guy right here, Wagenbaum, he says Genesis through 2 Kings. That's a lot of material.
Oh yeah,
that's a lot of material. But I highly recommend checking it out.
That's another thing. When do you think it stops being mythology and starts becoming historical? And to me, it's David. I think it's David and forward.
I think that's a turning point.
I think because you mentioned David, that we got Stellies that
I think
David
that David's highly mythology, though. I'm not saying there wasn't a guy. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying like his story's true.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I think as a kingdom, that's true. I think there might have been a small city-state in Jerusalem, which is now called the city of David. I think there might have been something that existed there, and those kings are historical. And they did get beaten by the Assyrians and captured and taken over to that. I think that's all historical.
I don't know.
I just don't think. I think before that, I think when you start getting into Noah and Abraham and Moses, all of that's none of that happened.
Well, yeah, that's that's what I loved about Thomas L. Thompson when he wrote in 1970 something on the historical patriarch of David or Abraham. He flipped the consensus.
Yeah, so that's my final.
He flipped it.
My final answer is the Kings and Chronicles section is based in historical as far as timeline goes. Genesis, no way. Genesis is pure mythology, just like Hesiod or Homer. Like, actually, it's probably more mythology than Homer is. Homer actually has like real event. There's like kings mentioned that are real.
There's kings
like Croesus and like Homer's mentioning some stuff that's historic. Yeah.
That's why I was telling the apologist, man. I'm like, dude, this.
I think
real.
Genesis is more myth than Homer is.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Genesis for sure.
But then
they don't
then
even name the pharaoh, bro. They don't name the pharaoh.
There's no pharaoh.
They just say a pharaoh.
A pharaoh, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. And or Nimrod. Who's Nimrod? There's no Nimrod. We have the Babylonian kings list. We have all the Egyptian pharaohs list. There's nothing. You can go to Luxor. I was in Egypt, and I saw the walls, and I had a guy that can show me tell me what was on these walls, and he was there every day. He knows every wall there. He can read it. I don't know if he can read it, but he knows what it says. And I would ask him, what does this say? No, this is a list of the kings. Oh, what is this? This is, that says Osiris. Oh, that's for, okay. They have on Egypt, Luxor, Saqqara, Alexandria, Heliopolis, Giza, wherever you want to go. Everywhere you go on the walls is text. There's more. They have Alexander the Great's entire world. Alexander the Great's entire life story is written on the walls of Luxor.
Right.
They have a picture of Alexander with a big boner. Or no, I'm sorry. It's Ammon with a big boner looking at Alexander. I mean, isn't that weird? Like he loves him. Like, I don't know what that means, but like it's the god Ammon. He's got a giant boner, and then Alexander the Great's looking at him like this. Like it's like, and then it says like, "You are my son." Mm-hmm. That's in Luxor. So you have
they were the point on 50 Shades of Egyptian Gray.
The point I'm making is with all over the country of Egypt, north, south, wherever you go, is text and history everywhere. There's nothing about Abraham or Moses or Jacob. There is something weird though. This is in Herodotus. Herodotus tells us a story about a dynasty of kings in Egypt there was 12 families that intermarried with each other, and they had us done.
Look at the laws. Yeah,
we might have to go dig into that next time.
Because I mean, and I know Kip knows the law codes pretty well, being like specifically centered on
the Bible. That very well could have been one of the texts that Demetrius found and brought to the table.
Well, just to bring this up for the audience who may not know, that there's some weird laws that seem to be like marry within your tribe, especially Ezra and Nehemiah stuff, but like. It's very xenophobic, which is a Greek word to kind of say you don't need to. I mean, I was going to get into some of the super chats anyway. Yeah. But real quick, someone commented something about the younger Dryas proves Noah, and I've heard this a lot when we've been doing our documentaries, and a lot of these kind of ancient alien types have come out of the woodworks in like, the aliens are the ones who built this, and the pyramids were made by this, and all these things. But like the younger Dryas is 12,900 to 11,700 years ago, and to like
the Bible has the Bible has dates in it. Like in the 3rd year of Darius, blah, blah, blah happened.
Well, Noah, okay, you can chronologically go back to Noah.
You can mark that on a piece of paper. All you get, every time it mentions in the 3rd year or in the 10th year, mark it on a piece of paper. You can make a list, and you will have an entire timeline of the Bible. The flood cannot go past it's like 2000 BCE. It can't go past that. So, or it could be like 1700 BCE.
Let me just point out, Kraken Ford, who does mythology YouTube videos as well, which I love watching this mythology stuff. Make sure you subscribe. No, the flood myth started in Southeast Asia around 30K years ago. Now, here's the point.
There might be more than
He's
one.
not saying that this Noah is this story. The stories, myths are just kind of being passed on and regurgitated culture after culture, generation after generation. The point I'm getting at, and I think you would understand what I'm saying here, John, is that there are people who are trying to say, no, Noah's story is true. And it's an actual guy who actually during the Younger Dryas built a boat and survived this flood when the Ice Age melted.
Deucalion's older than Noah. There's more. I mean, the sources, I just like the sources. People want to say Noah was written before. Like, okay, where's the source? The story of Deucalion is mentioned by historians before the story of Noah is mentioned by historians.
So if you have a 3rd century BC Noah
sources, right?
If you have a 7th century Hesiod mentioning Deucalion,
yes,
okay, and then you have a 3rd century Bible supposed reference, the earliest ever mentions the name Noah, then why are we assuming Noah is 15th century BC or whatever,
right?
When we don't have any evidence?
No one mentions Noah.
But a 3rd century or whatever it might be.
Yeah. You have plenty of people mentioning Deucalion's flood. No one mentions Noah until 300.
Yeah.
It's just,
Okay, super chats. We gotta give people love. Yeah. We apologize. We ran with that one.
Yeah,
but that was good. That was good. We get hype and just jump in. Definitely looking forward to the Elephantine piece. Can you give us a teaser? You know what? I should do a deeper on the Elephantine at some point. We need to get a scholar who specializes on this and really, get an expert in the Elephantine papyri to come on and talk with them. Maybe we do a documentary on it and cover some of this stuff. You know what I mean? Frankenstein. You two are good. It's worth noting that Thales is also often called the father of science and cartography. Fascinating turn of events.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for that.
Really, he's one of the 7 sages of Greece, man.
That shocked me when you said that. And it went all the way down to the Septuagint.
Thales, you have a direct line from Thales to this guy Demetrius. Like it's like I just don't understand why that's a big deal.
Yeah, and then shouldn't that impact how we view the New Testament? That's eventually dependent on the Septuagint
source. And like you get Nietzsche saying Christianity is Platonism for the masses. Like, why do you think someone like Nietzsche, who's a philologist, is saying that? Like, there's good reason to think that.
They see some
these are Platonist documents. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Frankenstein. Apollos, good to see you here, brother. Christian apologetic. In my opinion, I concede Christianity interacted with other cultures. However, nothing is unique insofar that everything is different combination of stuff. To your points, though, we should work with our similarities. I agree. And you know that. You've private messaged me. Look, if my antagonism ever comes out, it is not universal toward people of faith. It is really trying to get people to be more mature in what they know. And faith is your personal call at the end of the day. Even though I personally don't draw the conclusion, I get why people do. And I don't knock that. So I just want to make that clear to anyone. And I apologize if I've ever come across that way. But if you think something's true, I hope you're honest in saying what you think. And I'm not going to hold that judgment against you. And I might reason with you to ask you why and then be critical, whatever. I hope you could do the same for me. So Craig and Ford, hallelujah, guys. Hallelujah.
Speaking of hallelujah,
good to see you.
That word shows up before that. Callimachus is a Alexandria, same place, same time period, uses the word hallelujah as a chant for Artemis, the goddess. There's no Yahweh in that text. It's Artemis. He says, hallelujah, Artemis. Go look it up for yourself.
Where's this at?
Hymns of Callimachus.
Hymns of Callimachus. Okay. How do you spell that?
C-A-L-L.
Let me do this. Hymns of C-A-L-L.
I-M.
A-C-H-U-S. A-C-H-U-S?
Yeah, right there. PDF.
Get the PDF one?
Yeah. Yeah, let's show them this.
Okay.
Let's show them this. Okay. Can you do a find? You know how you can do find?
I'm looking to see.
Command find or something. I can do that on. Because
I don't
know exactly where it is. No, it's right there. You're on it.
Yeah, but I'm wondering. I don't know how to do the command find on it. Does anyone with a Mac know how to search the words on a page?
I think it's Command F. Try it
for Mac. I need
go to that page. I think it's Command F.
Go ahead.
Yep. Look at
it. Okay.
All right. Now copy and paste hallelujah.
Let me just spell it. It's not popping.
I wonder if it's spelled different. Try A-L. A-L.
Just do H-A-L, right?
A-L. Just try A-L.
That's Alexandria. Keep going. Nope.
Hello. We try it like this. Wait, what'd you do? You switched over.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. How big is this file?
Wait, is this all of it? Is it how many hymns do we got here?
That's what I was
All
wondering.
right, I can probably I'll just find it actually. Let's see. That's hymn to Apollo.
Well, you may not be able to find it. It might have limited your search in here because you have words up.
Where's Art? Yeah, we got to find Artemis. Hymn to Zeus. Hymn to Apollo. Hymn to Artemis. Okay, here we go. Daughter of Leto. I'm trying to like skim through it so I can. Yeah. I'm just like, it's hard to like. I know it's in here though. I've seen it a million times.
I'll send the link in the chat. I'll let everybody else if they want to go check it out.
Let me see if I can get it.
That's a lot to go through there.
It is. I think it is towards the end though. Oh, Lady of Many Names.
Let's just share.
Okay, whatever. Yeah.
So, all right, I'm sending you the link. Neil recommended everybody check out. If you're wanting to see that, there it is. And we're going to continue here. Thank you so much for that super chat. Lately, Stop Skimming Man says, lately, Gutsit Gibb and Erica did an especially fascinating video called Oldest Homonym Genetic Material is Now 2 million, I think, is it 2 million years or something like that?
Yeah.
I saw some of it eating breakfast the other day, and then
crazy.
I couldn't watch the whole thing. But I love watching her.
Getting older.
I love watching her though. She's
then like even like they're finding like figurines of like what could be a goddess. I'm not really sure. You know, they call them the Venus figurines.
Oh my gosh,
those keep getting older too. Like the first it was like one was 20,000 years old. Everyone was like, oh. Then they were like, oh, we found one that's 100,000 years old, and then it was like 200,000 years old. I think that's one that's 300,000 years old right now. Yeah, somewhere in like North Africa or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Blake, Derek, in a past video, you talked about sexual themes in antiquity. A soldier gets stabbed in battle means his virginity is taken. Where can I learn more? You know, that was with Stephen Nelson, my buddy Stephen, who's a huge Greek guy, loves the Greek world. He pointed that out to me, and I did not get a particular source. And I just got his word of mouth on this because he loves to study this. But it's the idea that in the ancient world, a woman loses her virginity by being penetrated by the penis, but the man loses his virginity by being pierced or cut in battle. And that was something he said is in the Greek world. The way that they do that is quite interesting. I don't even know where to begin in terms of searching, but Googling it and then seeing if you can find a source. There are probably articles written by scholars out there that do talk about this. I can't imagine he just pulled that up and just made that up. I think there's probably something to that. I say that because look how sexual the Bible is. Look at the book of Revelation, the whore of Babylon. There's constant like committing fornication with her. He doesn't mean you're literally sleeping with Rome, but it's figurative to say like you're cooperating with this, place that's going to go down in hell and God's going to destroy and all that. So that's there's a lot of that language that plays a role, but I wouldn't be shocked. So that's what my recommendation would be, Blake. I have not dug into the sources myself, but it interests me. Apollos, in other words, truth can have non-unique parts. Thank you. Well, I mean, if we're defining truth as in like some meaning, we talked about this the other day, how some atheists are so, they're so antagonistic to the metaphor, to the symbolism, to the parables, things like that, that they kind of are closed off to something that is fictional from being impactful. And if you consider the Bible to be mythological and fictional in some way, then can you glean from it? Is there any insights we can get from it? And a lot of atheists are so antagonistic toward it because there's a religion that like plays a role in politics and all that kind of stuff that they don't look at that. But they might go watch Lord of the Rings and walk away and go, that was the best moral story. And you're like, that's complete fiction. And you still think there's truth to it. So what do we mean by truth, right? I feel like I'm Pontius Pilate.
Right.
Hidden Gnosis, good to see you here, my friend. Neil, you should scan that notebook of yours and put a PDF form of it up for sale. I'd buy that.
It's like chicken scratch.
Dude, I can't even read it.
It's like hieroglyphics decoded.
Check out the Egyptian hieroglyphics. Shane Eckwall, thank you for that 20. I really appreciate the love and the support. Thank you for being here in the chat. I hope you've been able to tolerate us. We get hyped, dude. It's like a football commentary. We're interrupting each other. Demetrius said It's like, but that's what brothers do.
Yeah.
Hypercube says, very interesting. Thank you, Hyper. Appreciate that. Thanks for the support. Really appreciate that. Felonious Punk, loving the info and the back and forth between you guys. This is great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And this is what me and Neil do. You know, we get heated, we get hyped, and we have fun doing it. He's my brother. And for those who are tuning in here at the end, there's a couple things we do want to just mention. First thing I want to say, for those who didn't know, Neil's actual twin brother passed away 2 days ago. 3 days?
3 days ago.
3 days ago, his actual brother passed away. And this has been a good distraction, I think, from what's going on in New York with family and stuff. And it's made me want to try and help save my brother, who's going through serious addiction battles right now, him and his wife. And it's a disease. It's a tough thing to overcome. And so he's here with me. He's in good hands. He said last night while we were watching the movie, what's this? I can't even think of the movie.
Oh, Oppenheimer.
I can't even think. Oppenheimer. It was amazing.
That movie.
He was like, I'm glad I'm here.
The cinematography, like every shot was like beautiful. The way it's filmed.
Yeah.
Because you and I, we make content, so we know like when something looks good and clean and smooth. But like we kind of understand. We're not like directors, but like this is like the greatest thing I've ever seen as far as like the picture quality, the sound, the music. Mm-hmm. The
black hole sucking into the feel of the
movie, and it just was so intense.
Yeah,
it was very intense.
But you were like last night, you're like, I'm glad I'm here. And so if you're going through it, reach out to people. Don't be alone.
It's good to go to a 3-hour movie when you're trying to escape reality
with good people.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, a couple more super chats, and then I want to bring up something we didn't bring up. John D, are you going to get back into interviews soon? I imagine I will be doing interviews for sure. But I'm also trying to steer my direction into making higher quality content, because that is actually what does better. You have to follow what works best. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and what is going to do the best for helping take care of my family and yet educate the world. If I do an interview with a prestigious academic and it gets 20,000 views in 2 months, let's just say, or a month, and I'm lucky to get that kind of interview on certain content, it's highly educational. I get 20,000 views. And then I can do a very well edited documentary video that gets 800,000 in 11 days. There's no debate over which one is the better option to try and do. The documentary is far, far harder to edit and to produce and to put together. But it also is, for me, even more of a teaching lesson than just doing an interview. Because in an interview, I can do those and kind of fly by and sometimes miss things that are being said. When you edit something, you can't not know what you're putting together. You have to learn what you're editing. And that's why I think it's a better learning path for me as an editor, as a content creator, producing the documentaries than it is just reading the books of scholars and interviewing them. I really, really dive into the material deeper with the edits that I do with that. So I'm going to do both. I'm not giving up. I plan on doing several more interviews with scholars. It's just, I want to steer toward the documentary thing because I think that is the future of educating. People have like Ancient Alien documentaries getting millions of views, and their content is just conspiracy, absolute lacking of the, like, if there's a question we don't have the answer to, like exactly how did we build the pyramids? Exactly how? Well, we don't know exactly how. Therefore aliens, or therefore giants, or therefore this. Instead of recognizing they did talk about the blocks being moved by human beings at this time in history. If you don't believe me, Karakuni, the Egyptologist, knows the sources. We have the actual places they got the stones from. We know how they were doing some of this stuff. We don't know exactly how they built it, though. We gotcha. Therefore, aliens, things like that. I want to give you the facts based on the material evidence, and I don't want to make leaps of like weird things like that. That's my goal. I don't know. One more. Roberts, seriously love you. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate the super chat. I didn't see. I'd have to go back and see if there's anything under that. Oh, hold on. There's more. And there's more. Hold up. Okay, did you have a comment under that? I want to make sure I didn't miss it. No, just showing love. Thank you so much for that. And I got one more super chat here. Hangfi Shi. P.S. Were you ever able to track down that Josephus about running away if they faced veteran Romans, but if they were conscripts, we can try to fight? I never ran that down. I don't remember if I wrote that to Steve Mason to get his thoughts or not. Is this?
What is it?
I remember you mentioning this at some point in the past. I'd have to ask Steve Mason. Were you able to track down that Josephus about running away if they faced veteran Romans, but if they were conscripts, we could try to fight? Like when the Jews in the Last Stand in Masada, I think it was. Is like I think it's that part that Hank was talking about.
Were we ever able to track down that Josephus about running away if they faced veteran Romans, but if they were conscripts, we can try to fight? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. I thought I wrote this to Steve Mason, Josephus expert, but I can't remember. I appreciate the super chat, Hank. I'm so sorry. I don't remember. My brain is racked with all this stuff. We're going to Israel. We're doing a tour to Qumran, and we're going to Qumran for 2 nights. We'll be in Jerusalem for 3 nights after that. Then we'll be in Galilee for 3 nights. We're going on a 9-day tour. It's 8 nights, 9 days. Kip Davis is going to be there. Jennifer Bird is going to be there. And we may even have some of the experts from Albright Institute join us. I'd love it if we could get Finkelstein to meet us at Armageddon. Megiddo. That would be cool.
That would be.
Yeah, look, Kip's a trip. If you sign up now, Derek will cover your bar tab and my bar tab. No, I won't. But you can have plenty. It's actually quite an enjoyable place to go and see the history there and stuff. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Anything about that trip?
We need to talk. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
So we both paid last time and this time, and I'd probably go if it was double the price.
Right.
That's how worth it is.
The plan that we have now,
it's like, think about it like this. Okay, you're paying to go to a trip that's a trip of a lifetime. You're seeing the ancient world where so many historical events happen, and you have expert guides taking us around, showing us places, giving us context that we might not understand if we're just walking by ourselves. However, the feeling of not having to worry about like, oh, I got to find a map so I can figure out how to get. You know how you go on vacation with your family, you need a map, or you need to like find out where to go to eat. You need to figure out this. What hotel am I going to go to? How are we going to get here? We got to get gas. Oh, we got to get food. We got to get some water. All that's taken care of. You just sit back and relax and chill and be catered to. That's the best part about it. It's like you literally have no worries. You have people taking care of all of your needs.
I felt like,
that's what I loved about it.
I felt that way about the first time, even though we did a lot of walking.
Yeah.
We are going to be focusing, I think, on more areas more often, the places we do go to, and not be like running to the next place too fast. We're going to all sorts of places. In fact, where they found where Pontius Pilate's judgment throne seat was, right outside the temple walls. We know where that's at. If what that means is if what is accounted for in the Gospels, that Jesus actually was in this spot being judged by Pontius Pilate, you're going to be right there. We'll be on Temple. We're going up to the Temple Mount right there where the Dome of the Rock is. We'll be going down, seeing the Wailing Wall the same day. We're doing a night tour in what we call Gehenna. The Hinnom.
Found the Hallelujah thing.
You found it?
Yeah, I know.
Dude, he's rapping.
I was so like, I have to, when I say something, I have to back it up.
Wes said, get off the phone. Yeah. So Wes, forgive him.
I'm going to send it to you.
He said something earlier.
I know, I had to find it. I had to. I know. I'm sorry.
And he found a source in a Greek source where Hallelujah was the thing. And so
I'm just kidding. This is a screenshot because someone else actually asked me a while back.
Kip said, if you sign up now, Neil will hold your spot in line through the airport security at Ben Gurion. You really should check it out. Sign up. Okay, it's going to be really once in a lifetime historical tour. Did you send it to me?
Yeah, I sent you the screenshot of
Let's get it up.
part where it says Alleluia.
Okay. Alleluia.
Callimachus. Let me see if I can get a
How
better.
old is that, by the way, that source?
It's from 300. It's from the same time period, 270, 300 BCE.
Right there around the time.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. All right. Is it right here? Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
So that's the end of the hymn to Artemis. And it says,
Athena is coming.
No. I'm sorry. I gave you guys the wrong source. It's hymn number 4. It's called the Bath of Pallas, which is Athena.
Okay.
At the end of the Bath of Pallas, it says right here, Alleluia, goddess, preserve Argos. Alleluia, goddess, when you drive out. Alleluia, goddess. You can go look it up. So it's on theo.com, that website you use.
Yeah.
It's hymn number 4, Bath of Pallas.
Okay.
You can find it yourself, but I'm just showing you it's there.
Ancient.
Yeah.
Ancient.
But what that makes you wonder, what does Alleluia really mean? Does it really mean praise the Yah? Or is it something?
That's something you
Is it a
up.
Bacchic chant? Because the Bacchic chants, there was a lot of Yah.
Right.
Yah-oh. That's a Bacchic chant.
Right.
Saba'o, Yah-oh. Those are all Bacchic chants.
This gets into that whole, like, we got to divide between Jewish idea and Greek idea. And it's like, I don't know how much dividing there really is. You get what I mean? Like, I'm certain that there is some differences. We see how certain Jews kept certain laws in this time from Maccabees onward, but to pretend that they're like this complete distinct culture, the more and more I'm swayed and being persuaded, and I'm always persuasible, if that's a word, but being persuaded in this kind of Hellenistic route. And one might go, that's your bias kicking in, but man, I'm finding the School of Copenhagen to actually like really grab my attention lately.
Oh, and this Lady Babylon points out in Sappho, this woman Sappho,
right here
from Lesbos.
Is this the word?
She uses the word Alleluzo as a chant, and that could be the origin of all that. Like she's using it in the same way as a chant, as like a praising chant, praising Alleluzo. And Sappho is one of the greatest of all time.
Wow.
And that's where you get the word lesbian from?
No.
Because Sappho was attracted to women. She was a woman. She was like a bard. She plays in a poet. She had attracted to women. She's from that place. She's from the island called Lesbos. So later on, when other women would be attracted to other women, they would call them lesbian because of her.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just one of those weird
the
things.
OG.
It's one of those weird like facts that I don't know why I know.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, sign up for Israel, the tour. We're going to have a heck of a 9-day tour. Scholars are going to be there. Matthew Munger may be there, may not be there. We're not sure about that. Just depends. It'll be cool, but I don't want to put everything dependent on that. We are going to have Dr. Kip Davis, Dr. Kill in the Chizzy. He's in the chat right now. Harass him. You want to meet Dr. Kill? He will be there, and so will Dr. Jennifer Bird. We're going to have awesome scholars joining us also that are from over there, meeting us on the sites and helping us educate us from Qumran to Jerusalem to Galilee.
Can't wait to meet Jennifer Bird too.
Yeah, the energy.
Awesome.
You're not kidding. What's Kip talking about over here? The Hebrew Cafe? I don't know. That's a Derek question. What's the link? I got it pinned at the top. Hold on. Let me make sure it's up at the top. Book now for our. Let me just let me copy and paste this thing. Oh, shoot. Copy and pasting the link in case everybody is interested. I think, how much was it down again? Just to get in the door to reserve your position? Isn't it $300 before December? Something like
I think it's 1,000 before December 31st, though. That's a long time away.
Right. And we're going next October. All the information is in here. We do need to tweak a little bit of details, adding Jennifer Bird to that.
I'm pretty sure it's $1,000 down by the end of the year. Then you have 3 more months to give another 1,000. And after that, you're halfway paid already.
Right.
And then you just have small payments after that.
So you can make payments.
It's so worth it.
Here it is.
You'll really kick yourself.
I hope that we can have Look, everybody's been talking about for a long time. Mythvision needs to have a conference. Mythvision needs to do this. This is going to be beyond a conference. This is going to be conference on wheels because Kip's giving lectures here and there. I imagine Kip, we'll talk about when, but it might be best to do it once we get to Jerusalem after you've already blown everyone's mind from Masada to Qumran. We go in the caves, we go to the Israel Museum, and then that night or the next night, depending on how we all feel, we do the conference and have you do like a 30, 45-minute lecture, whatever you feel comfortable doing, kind of just helping us recap. It'll be recorded. We're going to have all this information to be able to do that. The first trip we did with James, we didn't really come prepared. And a lot of the footage we have that we never made public is a little crappy. Not going to lie. Not all of it, but like my lens was not a good one for the brightness outside.
Now I got my $5,000 camp. Dude, I'm ready now. I'm bringing something that no one's I haven't even used it yet.
Oh, Dennis McDonald's going with us too. I forgot to even mention that. He's giving a lecture in Galilee. So is Jennifer Bird. She told me the other day on the phone. So we're gonna have
content for everybody. And last time it was just us content, which is like cool and fun. But like, you guys here. Now you get to get content from scholars in Israel.
Yep.
And we're gonna film and be a part of it.
Well, I am putting some exclusive content that we got in Qumran with James Tabor on his upcoming Dead Sea.
Yeah, that's still coming. Yeah,
that's still coming.
Yeah.
So we did get content. It's just overall, it was very difficult. We were on the go.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah,
we learned what not to do next time.
So we hope you can join us. Seriously, you know what? Let me just ask. Why not do a poll? I haven't done a poll in a long time. Start a poll. Are you coming on the tour with us? Yes, no. I'm just going to put an ad like maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, there
Ask
you go.
Your community.
There you go.
Let's see what everybody votes. 268 people or so watching right now. Okay, you can see my screen. Now, let's see what you vote. We got the votes in. Let's get it. And subscribe to Gnostic Informant. He's almost at 100,000 subs.
Oh, by the way, this thing right here. I gotta be careful with this one.
Gotta be careful with my baby, bro.
Derek got this how long ago?
A month ago, month and a half.
That's it?
Yeah, it was pretty soon.
So I'm right behind you then. Because if I get 9,000 more subs, I'm gonna get this too. Which would be pretty cool.
You're right there. Help him get his plaque.
It's just a plaque.
Help him get the plaque. If he doesn't get it, he won't grow wings when he dies. We got to have him grow wings. We got to immortalize Neil here, everybody. If you help by subscribing, you grow wings too. We forgot to mention that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm waiting to see everybody vote. Get your votes in now. 41 votes out of 269 people. Will you be there? I hope people will, because there's going to be so much information. And we're early. We got till next October. I mean,
that would delay
over a year.
You put the stream over the camera, and now it's delayed, and it's like now. Okay, there. Now I can see.
Yeah, I was just looking at here.
I was like, wait, I'm behind now.
It's over a year. It's over a year. Like anybody can go. Just plan it out. It's going to be October the 27th.
That's what I'm saying. That's why like right now is a good time. If you're thinking about it, like think about it. Don't like put it aside because you don't want to be like scrounging up big chunks of money at the end. You want to be ahead of the game, get that big payment in, get that $1,000 down, and then you have like 4 or 5 more months to get another. And then after that, you just have little tiny payments to get you all the way to the end. And then then you got 5-star hotels waiting for you in Israel.
Well, here's the reason we did that. We went and we had good hotels, and then some were obviously the bad stay was at the end. And I'm not trying to crap on it because it was all a good experience at the end of the day. But we knew when we went back, every one of the nights we slept was going to be in a better place, like the best kind of place we could get. We want you to walk away and go, that was like a vacation and an educational experience. Not just I'm walking, I'm sweating, I'm miserable. You're doing.
And you'll never have to worry. Like you never have to like get lost. Like everything's put in front of you. You're just following the pack and having a blast. Like I can't stress that enough because that's like it can get stressful being in another country and you're trying to figure out your way around, and I'm going to keep saying this because I think this is really good. You have everything laid out for you. 5-star hotels, buffet dinners.
Oh yeah,
beautiful sights.
And
Scholars meeting us, getting friends with new people,
recording with us if you want.
I'm still in contact with people who I was in Israel with last year, who I talked to on Facebook. You meet people that you're friends with. It's just so worth it.
I love going down and like haggling.
I can't stress that enough.
It's one if you've never done it.
Everything.
I told my mom. Now my mom, she's an evangelical Christian. Okay, bottom line. But I told mom, I said, look, Mom, they want me to lead a tour. I'm going to be in Israel. Me and Neil are both leading it, but I'm telling my mom this. And I said, I don't care if you believe and I don't. You can't let go of the experience of coming and checking this out. It's going to be a blast, and you're going to learn so much. She's always wanted to go and see these places that the stories are surrounded. Whether they happened or not isn't the point. The narrative says these are the stories surrounding the narrative, and it's really interesting. You get to go. We're going to walk in the caves, and you can only picture here are these Jewish people living this like desert dwelling experience, a holy experience out in the wilderness.
Oh,
and they're in these caves.
You feel the presence.
You're in there going, dude. These guys were in here.
It'll be Kip this time. Before it was Tabor, but like Kip's going to be like, this is where they got together. And they had their sectarian scroll, and they're like, you had to follow this purity laws, and like, you might have got off. Like, you're gonna feel the experience of like what it was like to live there in that community. The bath is here. Oh, that's where the bath was, where you got purified. Oh, here's where everybody ate their communal meals. Oh, there's the cave number 7. That's where they found the scrolls. We can go inside there. Like all that stuff is that it's just, and like then you see an ibex run by. Like, how's that thing alive in this desert? Like, there's ibex with these giant horns running around in this desert. Like, it's cool, dude. It is fun. Bats flying around. It's fun.
Thank you for subscribing to Neil.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Derek's mom is
what else can we talk about that was fun about this? That was like Pan.
Oh my gosh, the temple.
There's
of
a
Pan,
place called Benias.
Portal to the underworld.
And it's a portal to the underworld. That's what it's called. And it's where Pan, the god, the goat, the devil, that's where he dwelled. And this was put there according to the sign that they had put up there. Someone put up a sign there. And it was like this site was put here when Alexander the Great's army came through Judea. Like they set up a grotto for Pan. I'm like, whoa, this is heavy. This is heavy, dude. And then there's a hole in the ground with water.
It's not a normal
it goes all the way underground that you can't see. It's so far down that you can't see it. So they thought that it was a hole to Hades.
But then there's these inscriptions, and then there's Herod built a palace.
And then
Augustus.
and then from me here to hit that wall, like that's how close it was. There's
12
a
feet.
Temple dedicated by King Herod to Augustus and Augusta, his wife. And when you went inside there, they had the statue of Augustus. And they had a statue of Augusta holding the cornucopia, the horn of plenty, and like they're like Roman gods, like they were like, we're in Israel, like right. This is like
I thought this would be.
Did we just transport to Greece
or
Rome? Like what's going on here? It's wild. And then James Tabor told us some crazy stuff. He said, "You see that mountain? You see up top? Because we're on the bottom. There's a mountain there.
Yeah, there's a huge wall. It's a rock mountain."
He says that is one of the more likely locations, probably the most likely location with a transfiguration scene.
I thought it was down a ways though. There was a really
he said it was up top, on top of it.
Okay.
Because want to know why I remember that? Heaven above, hell below.
Okay,
so he said below is where Pan and the devil are. Above it is where Jesus, Moses, and what was it? Elijah were sitting and showing the transfiguration.
This is the same
and we're gonna go to that place.
Oh yeah, we're going there. And the interesting thing about that place is that's where the Gospel of Mark situates Jesus asking the question, "Who do men say that I am?" And if you're standing on this block of all these gods and the portal to the underworld,
Pan, that's Pan. It's called Panias.
Before Jesus, Pan was already rocking that spot. And here's this new demigod who rocks the scene. Is like,
No, we're not.
Men think that I
Whether
am.
it's historical or not, it doesn't matter. We're just talking about what the text says.
Right.
The text says this. That's all we're doing. Like we're just taking the text at face value.
It does. What did it do to you? I mean, there's probably no words in one word, but like in a few sentences, being there on the spots, being on the lake. We literally get on a boat. We're on the Lake of Galilee at the sunset. We're seeing this. We're having.
That was one of the best times of the whole trip. Was being. We're gonna get on a boat. And we're gonna be like Peter and John. We're gonna be on a. We're gonna
float on this lake
in the Galilee, and then you're gonna realize they're gonna realize. Wait a minute. This little ass lake can't have a storm here.
Not only that, the little boat that you see, the first century boat that we're going to check out.
Yeah, like the waters, the lake is it's not that small, but it's not like there's no giant storms happening here. It's like a little pond. Like you're like, there's no way there's a giant storm here. So it's funny. You'll get, but it's cool. It's really fun.
It's funny, the guy that we had who was we're not going to have the same boat guy, by the way. But the guy we had, he was like doing everything to try and like defend.
He was trying to make it seem
like an apologist.
Because he was a Christian and he goes, hey, I've seen an 8 foot, what do you call it? What do you call that? Not a splash.
Yeah, like a wave.
A wave, yeah. He said, I saw it with my own eyes. It was about 8 feet tall. We're like, yeah, okay.
Right. You
saw an 8 foot wave here where there's no current at all. It's literally like quiet, like it's flat.
I'm glad that before we get on the boat, we go through the actual center that has the actual boat, the first century. It looks like a canoe.
They show
there's no way 12 people.
They dug it up. And there's people that are crying looking at it because they thought it was Jesus. People were convinced that has to be the boat that Jesus was in. Because it's first century, who else would be in it? Like,
yeah.
Is it possible? It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. Anything's possible. But like, really, just because it's a boat from the first century means that it has to be the boat that Jesus was in. Like first century, first of all, a century is a long time. Right. He didn't live from 1 to 100. He lived from 1 to 33. If this is true, right? We're just assuming that the text. Let's just assume the text is true. So you're not even half of the century. You still have 2/3 of the century that this boat could have been in existence. Just going to assume it's his boat. Remember, we saw people crying over it.
Yes, there's a lot of that.
We're looking at the boat crying. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, and it's like this is probably the typical boat that they had on the.
But it would have been the same boat. Yeah, same type of boat.
There's a bunch of like stuff going on here.
A lot of fighting,
one person thinks Dead Sea Scrolls are fake
what do you mean by fake?
Yeah, that sounds like a conspiracy that all Dead Sea Scrolls are fake.
Wait, that's what I'm saying. Like, you mean fake? Like somebody wrote them in like the 1900s and then placed them there, and then they looked at them, and
who knows?
The scientists they faked out the scientists.
Everybody's fake,
and no one can tell that these things are. You got to bring more evidence than just your own feels on that one. That's your feels telling you,
right?
Because the evidence suggests that these are real. By the way, there's some Greek text in there too. The Greek looks like first century Greek text. So, like, why would they? You're telling me that somebody was that good they can fake Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Latin? I think there's Latin stuff in there too. Like, there's a Latin text in there. I think there's one or two. Or maybe there's a different location. Kip would know. Anyways, you're telling me somebody knew how to fake all that and put them in different areas, and then wait until someone found it. How do you know someone's even going to find it?
We're actually going to the places that the first Bedouin took it and sold. We're going to all that when we go. Kip's
no Latin, okay.
So no Latin.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's taking us to the places they were first sold, the whole nine. We're going to the actual caves. Most tours don't go into those caves. We're walking into some of those caves. So we're going down the street and going into some of them that aren't guarded, if that makes sense. And we won't have anyone saying, hey, you can't do that. We're going to look actually in these places.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is something I actually asked Kip in the past.
What else was great?
We covered the
then there's the one you and I are going to lead.
You talking about that one cave?
So Kip and
are you talking about Gehenna down in the valley?
Yeah, let me so Kip and what's her name? What's her name? Come on. I just drew a blank.
Who
we're going with?
You're talking about Ross Nichols.
No. What's her name that we're going with?
Jennifer Bird.
Kip and Jennifer Bird are going to have to sit back and take a break because me and Derek, we know Gehenna.
We're taking a
We're going to walk. We're going to take a haunted tour through Gehenna because we've been there already. I remember the whole place like it was yesterday, and so we're gonna walk. Me and Derek are gonna try that, even though we're not like expert. We're just gonna just for fun go like what? It's just Gehenna. Who cares?
Right.
I don't know why I blanked out on Jennifer's name.
Dude, my brain's shot.
I said her name 5 minutes ago. I do that. I'm just I had that.
John says y'all are sounding like apologists for Big Qumran right now. What Qumran?
What is that?
I don't know.
Do I believe Qumran existed?
No, I think
they're
just saying that we're like, no, we're trying to get people to understand this is actually an amazing
that's
tour.
The thing. This is what I've noticed about
skeptics
versus believers is like some people are so far on one side.
They just hate it. Don't even care about it.
They'll just accept anything that makes a believer look bad. Instead of like, let's
go to the spot. Let's have
data.
fun.
Let's see what the truth is.
Right.
Maybe there's some things that are right about. Maybe not. But it's like everybody's trying so hard just to be right.
It's like you shouldn't be happy about these archaeological sites and geographical locations the Bible talks about as a non-believer.
You're not allowed to go there.
You're not allowed to like be excited about maybe what if we found the tomb Jesus actually died in? I mean, we could still explain. I'm just saying, we could still explain and say his body was stolen. He was relocated. There's several hypotheses.
This is a perfect skeleton still sitting in there.
If you knew, now imagine.
And then it says it, Jesus of Nazareth. Like it says his name.
That would raise red flags. My point is, imagine we went, there's no body, but we actually figured out like this is the most plausible place. Would it be bad of you and me to be excited about that? Would that be wrong?
No.
I don't think so.
You know what else I don't understand? Okay. And this you see this with mythicists a lot. Sorry, if you're a mythicist that's not like this, just don't, it doesn't apply to you. Just let it fly. Who cares? I'm not talking about you then. Only certain people are like this. So a scholar is in a video by me or Derek or someone else, and they make a statement criticizing mythicism. The very next day, it's like a press meeting that they have to get online and they have to refute it.
Oh, we get that.
What he said yesterday is a lie. Let me show you why it's a lie.
No. Remember the one guy that writes in all caps and literally says you're getting paid by the.
You are part of the
literally like
elitist. You have been compromised by the elites.
And the historicist.
Anyways, okay, so
I'm like, what the
hell? I've noticed this it's happening way more than you think. Like just me and Derek know because we see
the comments.
We get a lot of comments. Okay, but it's weird how when somebody says something, all of a sudden they have to defend it. Now think about this. In any other topic, right? For example, what the topic of Mark versus Matthew. So James Tabor thinks Mark was first. Mark Goodacre thinks Matthew is first.
I thought Mark Goodacre. No, he's a Mark in property. But
okay, let's just for the sake of argument.
Okay, for the sake of argument.
Let's just say Mark Goodacre thinks Matthew is first.
Even though he doesn't, but still.
I know. And Tabor thinks Mark was first. Who knows if that's true or not? Okay. Have you ever seen somebody go online the next day and call the other person a liar and they're wrong? Does anybody get fired up about that? Why is it only mythicism that gets people completely crazy out of their minds? Like, this is just an opinion. These are people analyzing the data, saying what they believe about it, and that's it. You can think of any topic you want. I don't know. Let's say Moses. What do you think about Moses? I think Moses was an Egyptian that
he was Hyksos.
He was a Hyksos.
I think
oh, yeah. What do you think about the Hyksos?
He might have been this. He might have been that.
You don't see people going online the next day.
Unless they're apologists who hate that you're saying that the Exodus didn't happen or whatever. But that's what I'm saying. The only people who are getting their panties in a bunch.
Yeah, but they don't have, it's not like they're going on and like having to like get in damage control mode. Like some catastrophic event just happened. They act like the world just ended because some scholar said something. It's like, just let it go. Who cares?
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal.
Not to me.
Yeah.
I love looking at different hypotheses of mythicism.
It's like you're allowed to be a mythicist and have that opinion. No one's going to bother you. But if someone else is a different one than you, the fact that you have the need to like go crazy and like get on, They're a liar. You're a liar. It's like,
did you
whoa.
notice? We went from like we're excited about
I
going
know,
to these
I know.
archaeological sites to like the reaction.
I don't know how I got into that, but like the point that I'm making is like some of this stuff is just we're just people with ideas, and like that's all it is. You don't have to get mad about it. That's all.
I get it, and I hope that more people do. But it seems like this is tribalistic. It's very indebted, and I'm looking at this academically.
You have to defend the faith,
bro. If Jesus didn't exist, guess what? That'd be awesome to find out.
It'd be great.
They'd be like, "Whoa, holy crap! Can you imagine your guy never exists?" Now the guy.
It'd be great if you can prove it.
I tend to agree that the guy portrayed in the text of the New Testament didn't exist, and the one that's being talked about by Paul, he's celestial post.
That's what's so amazing. That's what's so amazing to me is how close
we are.
A skeptic who thinks he existed
and a guy who doesn't.
But to a mythicist is they're only off on like a square, a hair. One of them thinks that he started off mythologized. The other one thinks he was mythologized.
Right.
It's like we're not that far away. Who cares? Yeah. What's the big deal?
It just gets so, and this is why you've never heard me. I have an opinion on this, and I have a lot I could say about it, but I purposely avoided it because there's so much contention when you talk about this topic from a critical standpoint.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even do it derogatory, but look at what happened with Kip. Kip's not even derogatory, even though he disagrees with Richard. He is being critical.
Yeah.
But look at what's already happening in the community because he's actually being critical of it. I'm like, I have no interest in involving myself in something that is so tribalistic, warlike. I mean, you're about to divide factions and create enemies.
But you see the damage control begin.
Right.
We got to figure out a way to make sure nobody believes what he just said.
Yeah.
It's like you can see that. It's like, don't you see how you guys look? Okay, I know.
Yeah, I if you were derogatory, Kip, I don't remember it.
Kip, when I saw
I thought he was very
that,
polite.
I thought it was polite.
He did make a few jabs.
That's part of that's what comes with it.
Yeah.
Like I made a lot more. I was a lot more harsh in my video. He made me look harsh. So I looked at Kip like maybe next time I'm gonna be more like. I thought Kip was great.
Well, I just I wish that neither side really got this way, and I really wish it was just an educational pursuit. That's it.
You know what would have been? Oh, Kip, that's what you think about my reading of the Talmud? I'll take that into consideration. I didn't really look at it that way, but I passed peer review, so too bad.
Well,
you could say that. You could, and then you could have looked like a boss, but it's I don't know. I'm getting too much.
You have your own personal. Yeah. Well, look, we hope that people can go. We understand $4,200 and then covering your flight can be pricey. Not everyone is even going to be able to do something like that, but you go look up prices for a cruise, on the Mediterranean or on in the Bahamas. Go look. You're going to pay good money to go on these, and all the hotels are top notch. We're going to be everything's covered. The only thing you'll have to cover really is your flight and food for lunch, because we'll be stopping at restaurants along the way. And if you're trying to drink at night and stuff like that, you can do all that and enjoy the talks. But go check out the site if you're interested in joining us. We've got scholars that are going with us. It's like, this is historical. And we've been talking about for years doing a conference. Instead, I was like, let's go.
And when we're done doing our thing and walking around looking at these sites, and we come back and mellow out,
it's so
and have
chill.
A good time. Get a glass of wine. Maybe you don't drink. Maybe you just drink a Red Bull but we're all going to enjoy ourselves and have fun. Like, it's not just like we're having a good, this is a fun trip.
Yeah.
Like,
good. Yeah. Good question. Jesse says, would it be a Christian safe trip?
Yeah.
I'm inviting my mom, my sister, and both of them are evangelicals. And I told them, we're going to be giving you historical insight. We're not here to like rip your faith apart. We're
here to give you the data and let you decide.
Yeah.
No one's telling you what to think at all.
Yeah.
And by the way, I already have 2 people coming. They're married, a couple, Catholics, and they're devout, and they're coming. Yeah. And they're coming because they know that I'm like.
That's not my intention to destroy everyone's faith at the end of the day. No. So we want historical. We want the best evidence you have, not a faith-based answer. If you have a faith conclusion, that's yours.
That's yours. Yeah, you have every right.
Even though I don't draw that conclusion, it's like I have no dude. A lot of the scholars we've interviewed have positions like that. Even if I don't draw it, I'm not going to sit here and go out of my way for that. If the conversation came up, they had a drink in hand and they wanted to go, why? And I'd go, well, okay, let's.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
But I'm in no position, and you see this. You see a lot of punching down on people that they believe. Yeah, it's like,
I think more empathy is better. Like,
and
we're
like
all humans.
I'm going through something right now in my family where
your brother.
There's people in my family who need a belief system. Hopefully they're not. I don't think they're watching it. But these people need to believe that he's gone somewhere in a better place to make this smooth. There is a function in society for, now I'm not just going to say theism, but just believing in something greater that we don't know.
I had my best friend.
It doesn't have to be Christianity or Islam, or just something that we don't understand. That has its purpose in society.
You know how your brother just died?
Yeah.
Okay. My best friend who passed away, I've had 2 best friends die from drug addiction. It's crazy that 2 of my best friends died from this. And the second one who died, his sister called me. She was trying to get me to talk to him and work with him. He died. Brain dead, oxygen, lack to the brain. They called the cops. 45 minutes later, they were late. It was over. He had no oxygen. He died. She called me, and this is Derek, Mythvision Derek. Like, I've developed my critical thinking skills to where I'm at today. And she's like, God couldn't, keep him around me and the family. She's broke. And she's saying he's in heaven now. And that's all I can think of. And all I can think of is that he's too good for this world. And you know what I told her? You bet your ass he was too good for this world. And you bet you he's in heaven. And you bet you
did the right thing.
You got it.
What are you going to say? That's not real. Like, who are you to do that? And like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, there are people who believe in something. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not against you. I don't have a fight against you. I'm not here to. My channel is to show you the sources, give my opinion, and let you decide for yourself.
Yeah, I think any historical evidence. What is the truth, right? Everybody talks about truth. We want to know what the truth is. We want to know what the facts relay. What does the evidence say? And that's literally it. And if you walk away with a strengthened faith, or you walk away with more critical thinking about the thing you came from, cool. At least we got you thinking. That's really the whole goal, is trying to be up to date on what this stuff is. We can't even explain to you the experience, though. There is an experience that comes with it. I loved it. You're reading, aren't you?
I was just looking. Some of the comments are funny. Yeah, no, but you're right. Like, and this is what it's one of those things that you really have to leave it to the individual to determine, and not try to. And it's no doubt about it that there are really harmful things that come from religion.
Oh yeah,
no doubt about it.
But dogmatism,
and I am with you, and I'm with the people that are making content to oppose that stuff. I don't have a problem with that. That's not punching down. That's bringing justice. What I mean by punching down is like finding some random guy online who made a video and that's cringy, and you're going to make fun of him and go, ha, 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 look at this guy. He believes. That's punching down.
Right.
But like, if they get like a clip of William Lane Craig's spewing some nonsense, and you make a rebuttal to that, that's not punching down. That you're making content.
This guy
is educating people. That's good content.
Let's be honest. He is
but you know the difference, right?
Yes,
there's just definitely a difference.
He's a telemarketer for Jesus.
Right.
There's a difference between.
I hope I made that clear.
Oh man,
there's definitely a big difference between punching down on believers and fighting back against misinformation. Huge difference.
Right.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Just call me, text, YouTube. We need this. We need theism because death is a major human trauma. As a Hebrew, it is a way to comfort folks. Though I don't believe in heaven or hell, it's okay.
I respect that opinion.
Hey, I mean, like I said this, dude. Let me be raw here. This is some real. I love this super chat, by the way, because my brother. I told you, your brother just died, and this whole thing sparked a dream I had 2-3 years ago when my brother was dying in addiction, and he was like. Bro, I didn't know how much longer he had. I didn't know if tomorrow I was going to wake up having that phone call, having to go bury him. And I had a dream, and he was in this box, and he was wheezing like, and he couldn't talk. I have to emphasize and give you enough detail. I'm looking at him. He's like dried up, like shriveled up like a skeleton, like you described your brother. And he couldn't talk. And in my dream, I was crying in my dream because I woke up with tears. And I was just like, I'll see you in the next life, bro. And then I woke up and I was crying and I called him immediately. He was like, I'm on my way to Washington State. I'm going to be withdrawn in a few days because I have just enough to get me there. Dude, it was almost like a sign to me, right? Like I'm a human on earth trying to make sense. I don't want my brother to die because he is the closest like man in my life. And my brother and me, we ride or die our whole life. The last thing I want to do is ever have to bury my brother. I want to spend more time with him. I love him. You only get this once, as far as I know. And I just said what came natural in my dream. I'll see you in the next life. I have no way of knowing there's a next life. It was me even helping myself for a moment, irrational, trying to say, I don't want this to end. And I'm just hoping there's more. That's it. That's it.
Sometimes that's all that's needed is just because, I mean, like, you know, there's the Socratic method of just withholding any judge, or like not being dogmatic about any way or the other. You don't know, like you're withholding any judgment on what you think about either way, even if one side looks like it might be a lot more plausible. You still gotta leave reserve for maybe there is something that little sliver could help a little bit for some people. You know,
I'm pretty skeptical, but when it comes to my love and my family and things, I can get real irrational real quick.
Yeah.
And it's natural, is my point. So I love y'all. Thank you for subscribing to Gnostic Informant. To share that one more time. For those who did not, please subscribe to my buddy. Let's get him to 100,000. 91.5.
Let's get 10,000 subscribers in 5 minutes. No,
kidding. Yeah, right. Look, you got from 91.5 to 91.6.
Yeah,
so
that's like what is that? That means 100? No. Yeah, that's 100.
You broke the next.
Whoa, dude. Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Thank you, everyone who watched this.
I'd love to see everybody.
It could have been 50 for all we know, because it could have went from 50. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have. We don't know, but I'm trying to go.
But it went up a little bit.
I'm gonna say 100 just to
Let's
feel
just
good.
say 100. Yeah.
We hope you'll join the tour. We have till October the 27th of next year. We're going. You have up till 3 months before we go on the tour.
I thought it was before that. It's that.
It's over a year.
That's 2 days after my birthday.
Yep. So you're going to be there celebrating the birthday with Neil.
Last year we celebrated my 33rd birthday there.
Yep. And it's perfect time of the year. The
34th.
Weather.
Remember the baptism we did?
Oh my gosh. we did a Gnostic Informant and Mythvision baptism.
Me and Derek baptized each other, and then we found out. Listen to this. This is the weirdest thing. When I stepped into the water,
the fish.
It was super.
Dude.
Oh, first of all, the fish are biting your feet.
Nibbling.
It kind of feels good though.
It's weird.
It doesn't hurt. But it was
super.
super.
Used to go in and let the fish nibble his balls or something.
I don't know.
I heard,
but it was super
like
sunny when we got there. Really hot day. We get in the water, and all of a sudden, I remember thinking to myself, "Did it just get like dark?"
Seriously.
And then I just forgot. And like, we go on with our day. We get back on the bus. All of a sudden, someone in our bus goes, "Hey, a lunar, or was it a solar eclipse just happened?" And we're like, "What time?" And then he named the time, and
we were in the water.
We were in the water that time. And then I remembered the dark happening. I was like, "Dude, yo, Derek baptized me during an eclipse."
Right?
Does that mean I'm like the Antichrist or something?
Yeah,
what does that mean?
You might be the chosen second coming.
The Antichrist.
He's the second coming.
Yeah.
No, but we baptized in the Jordan. That was funny alone, getting the garments.
No, because that's the opposite of when Jesus did baptized, light came out.
Right.
When I got there, it got dark. I'm the Antichrist.
But it was really strange that happened at that time.
It did. It was when you were. It was when I was getting done.
For those who didn't watch that, we might as well see that, right? Is it a Mythvision baptism? I think it is.
I don't know. Yeah.
There it is, baptized in the Jordan River. I'd have to. Let's do this real quick. There's the beautiful Mythvision Queen. Let me share my screen and let you guys hear this. This was so much fun. This was while we were over there, and it was a blast.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to rent a robe to baptize. Maybe some underwear. Maybe some underwear. Yes. All right. On a serious note, I'm about to baptize Neil and my queen, Mrs. Mythvision, giving her an empowerment of what we're doing here.
Go ahead. Tell them.
Notice how we're wearing sunglasses. It's very sunny. It's a sunny day. Okay.
All right.
we got to baptize in the name of Mythvision here. So, Neil?
Oh, there you are.
Oh, it's
Look at his face. This is crawling with wickedness. Listen, here's the deal, man. Once we're done with this, I hope you understand. There's no.
There we go. There we go. I wonder if you would tell if it gets your camera.
All right, look, man. Let me tell you how it's gonna go. Is that fish nibbling on my foot? Dude, the fish nibble on your heels. I swear, bro, they're like going for the little. Honey, it's tickling right now.
Now imagine that emperor got in the river. I heard reading about it somewhere where he had the fish nibbling on his gonads.
Hey, let's go right here because this actually. Well, you want to? Do you need it? Do you need to be in the shot here, or like you want your face like this? The fish, just fish. Trust me.
Okay, are you sure we see it's good?
The fish and fishers of men. Here we are today, Neil. You're 33 years of age. You're supposed to be crucified in just a couple more months. And you're here to attain true gnosis. I hear you're on a path. You're on a journey. It is today, young man. You give your life over to absolute gnosis. Bro, they're nibbling my toes
Right now.
They sense the radiance here. That's what's going on.
Fishers of men.
We are in the Jordan River right now. And my son, welcome to the cult of Mythvision. Are you ready to be baptized? Are you willing to turn your life over?
We are Mythvision.
Am I grabbing your head and dunking you?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
We are Mythvision.
I didn't get your mic.
Yeah.
Yes. He's saved.
Yes.
Honey?
You can tell that it's gotten darker.
Yeah,
The
okay.
outside right here, it's not a complete solar eclipse.
It's like, yeah,
It's a partial.
That's what they said. It was partial, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
partial solar eclipse happening right now.
Yeah.
Come in and listen. It's going to be different. You have never felt little fishies. Dude, tell her. Do you want to like be here while I do it?
Good, actually.
It's every little portion of my.
Okay.
Notice how the light. Okay. Go.
If I go back to the beginning, you can see how bright
right
it is.
now.
See how bright it is right here, reflecting off
No,
of me.
go back to when I'm in there, right? Right there.
Yep.
The light is on my. And now go back to the end.
Nope.
Not there.
It was right
No, I'm
somewhere
not,
around.
I keep going. Right. Go back. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell. It's hard to tell.
It dimmed, bro. We
Yeah.
already know.
It's hard to tell.
And we got the queen over
it
here.
might have been right.
No, come on. Babe, come here.
My wife is
Look,
the-
I think it's you.
my
yeah.
wife's the
I think it's
Antichrist.
you that. Yeah.
Oh
now,
my
because I think it looks
gosh.
darker now.
There's so many fish. All right, come on, baby. Come on in here.
I don't want to get
You're not. Don't. Oh, you have to go under. You didn't know that? We're on the Jordan River. You're going under. You see? Hold on. Sit still. I want the fish. Hold on. Come here. No, you have to join me. Come here.
on my feet.
Honey, come here. You really have to join me. I have to baptize you. Honey, they're fish. They're fish. Be careful.
sure?
Yes. I promise.
Hurry
All right.
Hurry up.
Listen, for you putting up with me, the co-leader of Mythvision, so long, Mrs. Mythvision, I now baptize you in the name. We are. I'm just going to put you under Mythvision. The fish are unbelievable in here.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay, now she's got to forgive me of my
careful the
sin.
mic. You're going to say whatever words you want because you are queen of Mythvision. So you may
So I can
say whatever you
cast the
like.
demons out of you?
Yes, if you want to just, you know.
Say, but the Lord.
All right,
Okay, no, I don't know.
go ahead.
What do you want me to say?
Whatever you want.
I don't know what to say. What do you want me to say? Hurry up, because I don't like these
You have
fish.
dealt with my wickedness and my wild, crazy butt for 15, 16 years. So say your piece and slam me and drown me under the waters.
Don't tempt me.
Go ahead.
Don't tempt me with a good time. Ready?
Yep.
Hold your nose.
I don't need to. I know how to.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
I'm casting the demons out of you. Look. Whew. I think there's a fish in my dress, in my gown.
I'm the Antichrist.
No, can they hear us right now?
Yes, they can.
Now it looks like there's no more sunlight on his face. It looks a little dimmer. I think it's you, not me.
Oh, so I'm
Yeah.
Satan's spawn.
That's it.
Hold in it.
I remember feeling. I remember seeing being like, did it just get darker? But I didn't remember when, if it was me or you or not. I think it was you.
Yeah.
Now that you showed it, I think it was you.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Ross Nichols told her to bring me back down there and hold me under the water until there was no more kicking left. But that among the thousands of other things we did there, it was so much fun, and we document it, and it's just we want to have you experience it with us. So we had fun. We did a lot of heretical things at sacred sites, and it was just fun.
Come with us, please.
Yeah, we'd love to see all you.
Everyone, nobody there that's in this chat should feel like that we don't want them to come.
Yeah, it was really cool, and so we'll do more. We'll launch some more videos, letting people know, because some people wouldn't see the stream or weren't here at the end. We'll do some more discussions while you're here and record it. But we'd love to see you, the people we always see popping in the chat, and love the stuff we love, to go and learn and have a freaking not just learn but enjoy. Those hotels, those dinners, those breakfasts, that's actually what started me to want to get healthy. When I got back, I started cooking my own breakfast.
Me too. I started
It was good food. Everything.
Because after I was getting a lot of weight from COVID, dude. And then after that, I was like, I'm out of shape now. I better get back into shape again. So
yeah, absolutely. Oh, we got a super chat. And then I'm going to roll out here. Lev, thank you so much for that super. Shout out to Derek and Neil, the All-Stars. Wishing you guys the very best and love seeing you together. May you have great happiness and love. Lev, thank you so much.
You,
yeah, hey, I'm glad that Neil's here. We literally spent, just out of nowhere, you're like, all right, when can I come? And I was like, next 2 weeks. And then you're like, I'm coming.
And then the day I came, the day right before I came, when
about your brother.
My brother, but
yeah.
I already had the plane ticket. And I was talking to my mom. I was like, what should I do? Should I not? She's like, just come back before the funeral is Saturday. I was like, all right. Because, and
you told your mom some deep stuff. You said, Mom, I know we lost my brother, but you have another son. And, I'll never replace
I'm not going to
him.
lie. I'm being here during this is probably the best thing I could have did, because
who knows how your mind would have been.
Yeah, I'm with people, it's fun, so.
Someone asked if you know Hebrew. Well, you know some Hebrew.
I do know a little bit. I can read it. I can read it, and I had to look stuff up.
Kip keeps playing with people.
I ain't teaching no one Hebrew.
Kip can do that.
I can read the words. Like I can sound it out and read it. Like I'm at that level. I don't know if you call that beginner level or not, but I can do that. And then I have to look stuff up. My vocabulary is very, not the greatest. So I have to look up a lot of words.
Thank you so much for staying around. And me and him are going to go relax, eat, and then we'll do some recordings and stuff. So any final words from you, man? I could pop
Thank
this
you,
thing
everybody, for the support. And I hope to see you come with us to Israel.
Absolutely. And
you know what? James Tabor, when he wanted to catch me to test to see if I was full of shit or not. So we'd be at a site, and there'd be Hebrew written on like a stone. He'd be like, "What does it say?" Tell him what would happen every time.
You did it.
Every
Yeah,
time.
you got it.
Every time I'd read it.
Yep. And James is definitely.
And sometimes I was even able to translate it and say, "Oh, that means," and he'd be like, "Tabor was like, you do know your shit."
Yeah, some.
Yeah, some,
you admit that though.
Yeah.
The vote. Someone asked to vote. Good point. I didn't even think to bring that up. Let's see where we're at on the vote. We never ended poll. There's 161 votes.
We got 12% yes.
Let's see. Yeah, we do. So are you coming on tour with us? No, 56% of people most likely can't go because either they don't like what we do or they can't afford it. Maybe 31%. I don't blame people if they just don't know. Look it up, go to the website, check it out. And then, yes, 11% of 161 people are going. Yes. What is the calculations of that? Man, I used to do freaking calculus in high school. And now I'm like an idiot. Let's see what we do here. What is 160? How many people? 161 times, what is that, 0.11? 17 people or so? Out of 161? That's good. So 17 people might go. I can't wait. I hope you sign up. Get your spot reserved. We'll be on the bus having a hoot. We got another people dropping supers all the time. Ellen,
Don't stop.
only just discovered you guys. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate the compliment. Again, on air, I've told you this already, and I'm saying it. Neil's brother passed away, and so we're just, this is more than just educational and having fun talking about the shit we learned in Josephus and like history, but like we really are humans who want to connect with other humans and let you know you're not alone. And if you are addicted or you're struggling with addiction, you're not a bad person.
So
You're sick.
Somebody
You might have an illness. But
Hebrew Cafe wrote my name in Hebrew. I see my name. Wait, I can't go up a little bit. What does it say?
where?
He says.
Here?
He says.
I popped it up here, right here.
What is that? Tata Rabbi Neil. Rabbi Neil? Is that what does it say?
Are we right? Is he right?
Yeah.
The Hebrew Cafe?
That's Neil, N-E-L, N-I-L. Waiting for him to respond.
Well, we're delayed by like 8 to 10 seconds on the stream. So it might be that. John Doe says, love you guys.
Many thanks, Neil. Okay. Oh, Toda. Oh, that's a Dalit. Wait, go back. Toda.
Let me see.
I said Tata.
This?
It looked like it looked, see, that shit looks like a Toda. Okay, I got it now. Toda.
Thanks a lot.
Toda
today,
to you too.
Today, Rabbi Neil. Toda. Yep.
Toda.
Yeah. Love y'all. Thank you so much for the support and showing Neil's support in tough times. So
thank you.
We'll see you again. Oh, we're supposed to end it with our special thing, right?
We are
Mythvision, and you have just attained
true gnosis.
That's right.